Noodles and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Yes, she's a 360 all the way around. Yeah, that's how she rolls. Can't believe I found her smart and her fun.
All right, here we go. OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Brian Hayes, the O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan.
Going on.
What's going on?
OverDrive shout out to my main man down under, Ryan Fox. Thank you for taking care of business. And our guy, Sam Burns. Surprised old Sammy Burns could walk the extra holes after a rod put him in the headlock up at the golf course, apparently. Never know. Good job, though, Sammy. You got through the extra holes, but you went down to our guy, Ryan Fox.
Fastest man on tour. That Ryan Fox, he is always in a hurry, man. He steps up and smacks a golf ball the second he is prepared. Like,
Can
he
you
pulls a club
imagine
and
if he
hits.
was like, if he was teed with just some guy that takes forever, like Bernie Long?
Him and Cantlay, he would be a 12 handicap. He wouldn't be able to do it. He couldn't exist in a world like that.
Dude, I think with Cantlay, he would hit and step 10 steps to the right and start going down the fairway, and he'll say, "You do what you want."
Absolutely. But, yeah, the RBC Canadian Open, it seems to pop every single year. There's something big that happens, throughout the tournament. And it wasn't a well-played playoff. Both guys were choppy.
Yeah,
I mean,
there was some, Twitter, rants about, they're playing 8. Yeah, they're playing 18 again. Nobody can make a birdie. What do you want them to do? I would have one recommendation for next year. Get somebody that's on the staff, whether it be the tour staff, grounds crew, whatever. If it's into the wind, instead of changing the pin, change the tee.
yeah, push it up a little bit. And
Push it up
go
the first
for it.
times where it's like they can hit their driver into the and it's going to be go zone, and it'll be over in one shot.
Yeah, that's right. And I think they'll probably learn from that, and that's what it was this year at TPC Toronto, right? A one-off. It was the first time. They'll be back next year. I think everyone was happy. Everyone that made it up there had a great time. We were there all week. It's always one of the highlights of the year for us. We had a blast, and shout out to Ryan Fox. So we'll get into a lot today about what happened yesterday, looking ahead to this week at Oakmont. Graham Delet's coming up. GD is down there at Oakmont, so Graham's coming up a little bit later this afternoon. Yesterday was wild, man. Like that tennis match. We don't talk a lot of tennis on this show, and I admit I am a wake me up in the finals kind of tennis fan, and especially it's got to be big names, like I'm not even interested in a Cinderella. And if you're going to kind of pull people in for 5 hours and 29 minutes,
you
it
want
better
monsters
be
in the
something
final,
like we saw
and that's
yesterday.
all you're watching.
Yes, exactly. And Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, they represent that. 5 hours and 29 minutes. Those two guys were out there playing. And Sinner had him 2-love on set, and Alcaraz just battled back. And I think we're going to see that for another 10 or 15 years, man. And it made me think about sports, like in general, and I'm going to get heavy here and philosophical, but there's always the next guy's coming, man.
Yeah.
Right? They're always around the corner. Federer hangs him up, and Nadal retires, and Djokovic isn't who he used to be, and there's concern. And Tiger Woods, well, Tiger's done, and Rory's getting up there in age. Every sport has it, right? When Gretzky retired, when Jordan retired, there's always someone else coming. Always.
It's true.
And every year, every generation, the evolution just gets kind of better and better and better.
I know. We watched a goal the other night in Edmonton where everyone was marveling at Connor McDavid. They asked him how he did it, and his wingman said, "You just can't teach that. That's just the greatness of McDavid." But
I love
down
that
the
answer.
line.
Yeah,
What's
me
that?
too. I love
that answer
From
because
I'm
Drysdale.
kidding. It's like, what the hell was that guy thinking? It's like, oh, what do you think? You go in your garage and like you can do that? No.
I thought it was an unbelievable answer. It's like, you know what? No matter what your kid does, even for 10,000 hours of training, your kid. He actually basically said, your kid and everybody else's kid will never do that play. So don't even think about it.
Yeah. Jamie, that's why these dorks that played Junior C are making millions of dollars teaching kids because they promise the parents that they'll get them to be able to do that. And it's like, no, you're not.
That's right.
You're not.
You're right. And to be fair to McDavid, he tried to be diplomatic.
Yes.
And he kind of started stumbling his way through it. And Draisaitl goes, Nobody, you can't.
No.
Like, why are we wasting people's
Did you
time?
not see the look on McDavid's face? McDavid was trying so hard to not look at the guy and say, I'm the greatest physical talent that's ever put skates on. Do you think some kid's going to learn that?
Right.
No way.
Well, you know what you just asked me? You know,
Yes.
it's like, honestly like going to Tiger in his prime, being like, that 2-iron stinger you hit out of the bunker. How did you do that? It's like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not doing it, and nobody else is doing it. Just be in awe of it. That's the beauty of where we're at right now.
Would you
Just
have
be in
liked,
awe.
would you have liked McDavid, though, like in a candid moment to go, no, there's nobody, like, I'm the only person who could ever do that.
Yes, I would like
that
to
would have been
see that.
so funny.
I would have
like to see that.
I would have did this sign of the cross if he said, actually, I'm the only guy in the world that pulls that off. So anyone else thinks of it, they're nuts. So
Well, also the pace, like the stops and starts, for him to be in flight basically and stop on a dime and then fly the other way, dangle through Barkov, dangle through Ekblad,
and look at how that pass goes under that stick, just
Lundell's
barely.
stick. Yeah,
just
like,
a
it
piece
was
of art.
ridiculous.
Like, that's what it was.
And you know
to
what's funny?
Draisaitl.
It's so true, though. That wasn't Stiffs that he was
No,
going
that was
around.
Ekblad and Barkov.
Yes. Like, those are two of the – like, Barkov won the Selke, the best defensive forward on the planet. And McDavid just said, I'm going to change my direction here.
He looked like Phil out there. Like,
Yeah.
he made him look like Phil on a PK.
Yeah.
Now, well, we remember that goal because they lost the game.
Yeah,
that's what I've been
tough.
chewing on since Friday night. Like, I mean, I've been waiting to get here to ask you guys because we got Game 3 tonight. We'll tee that up. We got Chris Johnston coming up. Ray will join us unless we have another power outage or there's a storm that rolls through and we have to cancel Ray.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think because it's McDavid and it's the finals, it probably rings out for a long time. But it was early in the game. I don't know. I feel like the memory of that game should be Brad Marchand. He scored basically the same goal twice.
Yeah.
Right.
Like he break away and he opened Skinner up and went 5-hole. That was the
way,
Brad Marchand game.
It
Like,
Brad
that's-
really was.
Marchand, by the way, guys, so funny. The most agent influenced comments coming out of Brad Marchand's camp right now, and it's so funny that after he's playing like this and after the combine, the headline was Brad Marchand thinking about staying in Florida. It's like, no, really? He likes Florida?
Big
Like,
shocker.
I just love that one where it was like teams have probably checked in and they're all of a sudden it's like Brad really likes Florida. He might stay. Well, no kidding.
Yeah,
Way
no
to go,
kidding.
agent.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not convinced Florida would have got through the Leafs without Brad Marchand in that third line. But they definitely would not be tied 1-1 without him.
Totally
Like
agree.
that is without question. And if you can recall, again, it doesn't matter now, and maybe it would have worked out anyway. The Leafs are up 2-0 in the series, 3-1 in the game, and Brad Marchand shows up, and Marchand wins that game in overtime.
I know,
Like,
but
he won
Hayes,
Game 3 in overtime against the
I've
Leafs.
mentioned it about the Leafs numerous times and quality teams. It's like there's an element of buying other guys' time. So second game, we'll call it the Marchand game. There could be there's a lot of goals going in the net, by the way, for the Stanley Cup Finals.
Unbelievable 2 games, man. Best
Like,
two-pack I can think of.
I know.
Maybe ever.
The thing
I know.
is,
And I usually describe it the Mike Babcock way, where this is going to be a race to 3-1, and whoever gets there is probably most likely. There's goals going in all
Give
over
me
the place.
5-4 all night, double
Give me
OT. I
five.
love it.
I'll take it. But that was the Brad Marchand game. There could be that's buying his teammates some time. There could be a Bobrovsky game. There's been Sam Bennett all throughout the playoffs, but
Yeah.
maybe there's a Reinhardt coming around a corner because there needs to be one, and a Barkov and other guys. So
Those guys
Marchand's-
haven't done much yet. It's 1-1. To your
Exactly.
point. It's 1-1.
Exactly.
It is true. It's funny, the goaltending, like both of them coming into the series, both these teams were averaging 4 goals for and around 3 against. So it's almost been a race to 4 every night. Game 1 was a race to 4. Edmonton got it. Game 2, they both had 4 and Marchand tucks it in. But I think the goaltending's been good. I didn't love the game-winning goal. It's a greasy, slides through, but in the end, I thought Skinner didn't hurt them. But if you look at it, Edmonton's had a lot more quality chances than Florida. It's 50-29 for Edmonton over Florida. But Florida, the one thing I've noticed is they've commanded both second periods. Outside of that, Edmonton's had the better chances. But I thought Bobrovsky was unbelievable at 3-2. Like, the game was 3-2 last game, and there were still 7 minutes left in the first period. Like, it was
right. It was flying.
It was an insane first period. That felt like a full game, and it was one period. And Edmonton had the 5-on-3. They had Arvidsson had a great look. Perry had a great look in tight. Like, there was a lot of chances at both ends, but I think Bobrovsky and, like, the goalies, the numbers don't look good, but I think the goalies have made some really good plays, like, have looked good.
Well, and if that's the way it's going to play out, so be it. You know, it's 80s style where who's going to make the big stop when you need it, you know, and that ultimately is thoroughly entertaining. You've had all these lead changes. You've had late goals in both games to even push it to overtime. And, you know, 2 OT thrillers.
Yeah.
Draisaitl, Marchand, the big boys are showing up. They've just been 2 incredible games. There's really no other way to put it. I am so excited for Game 3 tonight because I anticipate it will continue. Why would it stop? Like, both teams are on edge. Both teams are on their toes. Both teams are ready to play. You know, and I think they're both comfortable and they're easing into the series. Now it flips to Florida. Panthers now have home ice. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, a game-time decision tonight. That's big. Like, if he doesn't play, that's a big, big loss with Hyman already out of the lineup. But, yeah, I think you look back in the first 2 games, I think you could make a strong argument. Those are the 2, like, the best back-to-back games we've seen in a Cup final in maybe my lifetime.
Makes it reasonable that it is 1-1, too.
It probably deserves to be, even though what you just said, the high-danger stuff all that. But I think these 2 teams are very evenly matched.
Agreed.
You know, very evenly matched, and it probably should be 1-1. I think it sets up for a long, long series. I think most people have paid attention, and people have noticed the way Florida is going at Skinner, and Bennett had another accidental on purpose, oops, I fell on your leg moment on Friday.
I'll tell you what, he goes in one more time, somebody's going to tap him on the shoulder and say, get out of this. You're not.
I don't understand how the league doesn't warn him or has not warned him that if we see you accidentally come close to the guy, like, we'll go beyond 2 minutes. It's 5 in a game next time.
That should have happened after the shenanigans with Kochetkov or Freddie Anderson, whichever one he took a swipe at in the Carolina series.
Yeah.
Because he did it in the Carolina series, where I gave him the benefit of the doubt in the Toronto series, and I'm like, there's just nothing there. His hand was on his stick and grazed the guy's head. But then he swiped the Carolina's goal. Like, it's impossible to continue to fall into the goalie.
He knows what he's doing.
Yes,
he knows
but that's what I'm talking
doing.
about. Like, how does someone not tell him, you even sniff a goalie? Like, look at this one in Carolina.
This was egregious. Like, this was really
watch
egregious.
This. You're telling me he didn't do that on purpose? That's where I would have pulled him aside and said, your skate laces touch a goaltender, you're not going to play for 2 games. So go ahead and try it. That's exactly what I would have told him.
There was also, I don't know if you guys saw that, it ended up in the back of the net. He scored where Ekholm dropped his stick and he kind of, like, helped it out of the – I don't know if you saw that.
He accidentally looked like he was looking away and he was booting it with his feet.
He kind of booted it out or, like, helped skate it out of the zone. So Ekholm had no stick, and then the seam goes back to Bennett, and he scores on the back door. Like,
and, hey, Jamie, you want to call it gamesmanship or whatever you want to call it, but those guys that are running the hockey ops and doing the discipline stuff, there's former players there. I don't know how much Kinger's involved. They all know what the hell they're doing. I just don't know how anyone hasn't told them, your skate laces touch a goalie, you're not going to be playing for a long time, so you pick your poison.
Well, listen, he plays for keeps. And
I get it, and I love that about him.
Yeah, and you know what? He's going to be there. He even, in one of his media, said, I'm going to be there all series long. Like, have at it. And now the challenge is for Edmonton's D is to box out and not push him accidentally on purpose onto your goaltender. That could have been ugly. Like, Skinner looked like he rolled his ankle or hurt his knee on that play. He battled through. That is one thing I give Stu Skinner. He's 6'4", 225. He's a horse. And that looked like, you know, he could have easily said, check, please, because he had given up a goal right after that. And to me, he could have came out, but he didn't. It looked like his ankle or his right knee or whatever it was. But, like, Bennett fell directly on it. Mm-hmm. And he found a way to keep battling, which I do give him credit for.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, the league, they're not even penalizing these guys. Like,
no.
We had who was it on Friday that told us it was Dreger who said he was speaking with Berube, and Craig Berube said, I kind of think the Panthers are going to get in Skinner's kitchen tonight.
Yeah.
Like, it's clearly being coached. It's clearly their priority. Like, get in front of them, get around them, hit them. If you touch them, so be it. And I think what I'm sure what they're saying is if we get two, we get two, but we'll take it.
Well,
Like, and that's on the league, for not protecting goalies. Like, if you're not going to protect the goalie, then I get, of course the Panthers are going to keep doing it.
Of course.
Why would they stop?
But do you think, Brian, like Corey Perry does the same, like Evander Kane, look at that Vegas series. Aiden Hill was chasing Evander Kane around because Kane was knocking him over and all over top. Like
I guess you play fire with fire.
Exactly. That's the scenario. Say, like, if you're the Oilers saying, if you're not going to protect our goaltender, then we're going to go to the crease and we're going to have some nonsense on Bob, which, again, which is stupid because you want to be able to protect both of them, like, and let them play their game.
You can picture the controversy coming, though. You can see it coming. What's going to happen is the Oilers are going to get, for the first time all playoff, they're going to have a goal called back for goalie interference.
Right.
Oh,
after all this stuff where you're 0 for 4 on challenges, the Panthers are knocking goalies out left, right, and center, and you can see it coming. Third period, tying goal, and it'll be Perry or someone. Well, no, we got to call that one back, and heads are going to explode.
It's
I think there's going to be a
massive.
There's going to be something this summer. Like there's going to be a summit on general manager meetings or the contact with the goalies is just. And I'm a big believer in like going to the net. And you got to go to the net and stuff, but it's gotten crazy. It's really gotten crazy. And Jamie, I will say, out of respect to you and the position, they got to protect the guys because they're just getting steamrolled, man.
Well, it is. And I've always said I don't mind incidental contact, especially if the goaltender puts himself out of the net and all of that type of stuff. But you should be afforded your crease. And,
this is slap shot type stuff where it's like, let's run the goalie out of the game and we're going to have a chance to win the series.
It's a weird conversation to even have.
Yeah.
That, like, honestly, if they knocked out Skinner, like, no one would be surprised.
Right.
You'd be like, that kind of felt like a strategy, like something that they're kind of hoping to do. And it's one thing to be cognizant of a game plan to have traffic and hold your ground, and it's another thing to kind of go outright and be thinking, if I land on this guy and tear his ACL, that would be great.
Yeah,
it feels like it's crossed that line.
The only problem I would say with that, Brian, is like that's not Sam Reinhart. It's one guy
it's Bennett.
That's doing
all he does is score goals and run into goals.
And keep in mind, he's having an unbelievable playoff. And he's a hell of a player, and I think there's 31 other teams that would put their hand up and say. But I don't think it's an epidemic. It's one player, really. And then, again, in fairness, Corey Perry doesn't have a halo above his helmet. That guy plays the same type of way. But he's cagey at it because he's 40. So he's been doing it for 22 years since he stepped into the league and maybe hides it a little bit better than Bennett. Bennett's just like, the hell with this. I'm doing this and whatever. Where Corey Perry will look at the ref and go, what did I do? But he knows exactly what he did. I think there's guys that are culprits on both sides. It just happens to be Sam Bennett is the name that is circled because he hasn't had just one thing. We're talking 4 or 5 things you can point out legitimately. 4 or 5.
Again, he's scoring
and he's
at
scoring
a crazy rate. He scored more goals than anyone else in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So it's one thing if it's a guy in the fourth line plugging along and he's just trying to make an impact. This guy is a big game player who elevates every single night, and I fully expect that will continue. And Game 3 tonight, Chris Johnston will join us. CJ in about 5-7 minutes. We'll set the scene with him. We'll get his take on what he's hearing. Around the Cup final, there's a million different rumors.
Sure.
What's going to happen with different players. There's all these different reports out about Marner and potential trades that fell through, other free agents that possibly could be available, and maybe guys that want to return to Toronto.
I want to ask you something about your birthday trip on Saturday.
Okay. Why don't we do you want to get into this now? Go ahead.
Just quickly right now.
Go ahead.
I saw a video of Charlie Hoffman approaching the 18th green, and I saw you in the grandstands. I want to know what the gear, like straight up in person.
Dude,
you know
it
what
was wild to see Charlie Hoffman just shuffling around that play. He walks slower than anybody else on tour. He's out for a cruise.
Really?
He has the dress pants on and the white spandex sleeves.
Yes, he had it.
And
he had
a
the
green
flap
hat.
brim,
I
the Oakley
love
glasses. He had the FootJoys cooking, and he was just out for a Saturday stroll.
Just
man.
doesn't care, eh?
Was it? I think he finished dead last of the guys who made the cut. Like he made the cut, but I'm pretty sure he finished over par.
I asked you, what the hell happened to that Cameron Champ? That guy was near the leaderboard. I did not see him hit a shot on the weekend.
He was in the final group on Saturday, and he just did nothing. Like, he was in the final group. I was at the rink hole as they came through, and you talk about something scattering. Like, when the final group rolls through the rink hole, needless to say, everyone is out of there because there's no one else coming.
I would be fearful of trying. I couldn't have the patience to try to get to my car and get home.
Well, that's the thing. Like it's a big event. It's a massive event. There's a ton of people there. There must have been 30,000 people there, I would think, or more than that.
Oh yeah, that course looks so cool. I tell you, the drone, it looked amazing.
They did a great job.
Shooting it, and
it was in great shape, and the volunteers, like the whole thing is amazing. They do an incredible job up there. TPC Toronto, Golf Canada, PGA Tour. It was cool because on Saturday, like Colt Knost and Amanda Balionis were on the 14th tee, and Amanda comes bombing out in a Matthews jersey, and the crowd's going nuts, and Colt comes out in a Marchand Panthers jersey, trolling the crowd and doing a brilliant job of it, and people are all over him. Like, he's a showman, clearly. But, yeah, it was a great week. It really was. And Ryan Fox, that shot he hit on the fourth playoff hole, man, that 5-wood to about 6 feet, unbelievable golf shot. And he works fast, he plays fast, and now he's an Open champion. And obviously we're getting a lot of feedback from Oakmont, and I think I've already had enough of the ball in the rough videos.
God,
like,
dude.
we get it, everyone's got to do it. It's like a selfie at Disney. Like, you got to do it. If you're at the Eiffel Tower, you got to get a picture.
Every tour pro that has social media did the drop in the rough.
Every single one. It's almost like their agents called them and said, do not forget to do the ball in the rough at Oakmont because we need this to blow up. You're the only one that's going to remember to do it. Nobody else is doing it. Like, look at this. It's just, all right, that's not even the rough. That's maybe the second hole or
go off the green. That guy just dropped that onto the green. And if I were to guess, that would be the third hole.
I think it is second or third. That's what I heard. It's one of the first couple of holes.
So is it that awful, or what are they like?
These guys, they're gearing up. The thing is, they're so good. Like, Scheffler's so good, he might shoot 6 or 7 under for the tournament.
Yeah,
he's that good. But
I know he might just destroy them all if he gets the driver dialed in. And the Johnny Miller philosophy, a guy that hits a fade at a U.S. Open is always going to have a great chance if he's dialed in. And that guy's no one's more dialed than that guy.
Nobody's more prepared than Scotty Scheffler this week. So Graham Delet coming up from Oakmont. Here it is. Yeah, rough at Oakmont for the U.S. Open. There goes the golf ball. Yeah, wild and wacky stuff. It's an annual tradition.
But it's almost like
Wild
mentally you're
wacky.
setting yourself up to chop it around, so why even bother?
Well, exactly. Like, we get it. It's bad. And anyway, we're going to get more of that throughout the practice rounds leading up to Thursday. Graham Delet coming up. Ray Ferraro will join us today. The Jays are on fire outside of when Bowden Francis is on the mound.
Dude,
Yeah,
they got to get – I'm sorry.
I'm worried about him. Like, he's given up more home runs than any arm in the majors, and he gets crushed.
You know how your ace is supposed to start streaks and keep them rolling? He's the opposite of that. He ends streaks, and he just – it's all goes to hell when he goes out. And I loved him last year. He was such a fun story. And I think I made a dumb comment, one of the few. I said he was going to be a stud, like a big-time stud. I got carried away, and he's a mess right now, Hazy.
Yeah, he's got an ERA up over 6. He barely gets through 3 innings. He gives up home runs. He just feeds home runs to the opposition. Oof. It's multiple home runs every single start. Now, they don't have a lot of depth in the organization. They don't want to go to openers, but at some point you owe it to the rest of your team, where if Francis is going out there, he's just getting crushed. And I think they've had like multiple 5-game winning streaks that have come to an end with his start, with his arm, and they've been playing great. They're above 500. They woke up in a wild card spot today. Like, the Jays are on fire. They're in St. Louis tonight. Barrios on the mound for the Jays. Keegan coming up in a couple of hours. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on YouTube Live.
Quite a concerning conversation I had yesterday with the one and only Paulo Koliakovo.
Oh, yeah?
Very concerning, the first thing that Paulo said to me about his identical twin brother was, I don't believe anything that you guys are putting out there, so I'm very sorry.
Oh, no, Paulo.
I'm like, your own brother, you don't believe? He said, absolutely not, no.
Oh, he's the last guy that would believe his brother. I mean, he knows him better than anybody else.
Those guys they're the one person. They're like blood brothers, man.
Literally.
And he said, I don't care who he is.
Not like. Literally.
Paulo got the math skills. Is that what he's saying?
I just said to him, I go, Paulo, you know that me and Carlo would never jeopardize like our integrity with something stupid like this. And he started laughing. He goes, that's exactly what he would do. And I said, look, we had to talk about some business stuff. I said, that's what's going to happen, and I'm not talking about this garbage anymore.
You know what's
his
wild?
Own brother.
You know what's wild about twins, identical twins? So where I play, they're a set of twins.
Golfing twins?
No, so they work at the club. These two young women, very nice. I didn't know they were twins, so I would roll by 5, and the one twin would be there. Hey, how are you? Good to see you. And then I go by 15, and the other one would be out there and be like, "Oh, you're out of 15 now. They moved you," and they never said anything. Like,
you thought it was the same person.
I thought it was the same person. I'm like, "Oh, I saw you at 5 earlier. I didn't know they moved you around the course." And I was doing this for weeks, and then I was told today, actually, they're twins. So they must think I'm a complete idiot. But at the same time, I mean, come on, you're identical twins. You can't expect people to pick that kind of stuff off.
No, not at all.
I just assumed they were moving around. But, yeah, I guess I know better now because those identical twins, man, they'll get you.
They should identify and say, oh, you saw my sister at 5.
I was waiting for that kind of conversation, but it never came up.
There's 2 twins at my course, too, 2 Russian dudes with big red afros, and the one guy was mowing a tee when I was about to hit, and I got pissed off, and I drove by him, and I was like, come on, dude, like, you can't see me standing there? Like, little respect for the membership.
Yeah, here's 20.
Yes,
great to see you. Great to see you.
You're the best.
You cut whatever you want anywhere.
No, I'm not putting. You go ahead. You go right ahead. I can leave the pin in. I can do whatever you want. Whatever you need. Here's Chris Johnston, our TSN hockey insider. CJ, you made your way down to Florida.
It probably is. It's tough sometimes to remember, but certainly nothing jumps to mind as being better. And I think having this series where it's a rematch, just from a neutral standpoint, I'm not talking like wherever the Cup is played, obviously in those cities, it's a big deal, but I think there are some advantages to a rematch. People kind of have a sense of what the teams are about, and there's a familiarity there. There's some built-in storylines, and then to deliver 2 games where you see the lead changing, a couple times, and then overtime, double overtime, game 2. I mean, you're getting all you could ask for. You got the McDavid play on that Draisaitl goal. You've got the old guys, which I always like, and Marchand and Perry having some moments. I mean, this series has had just about everything through 2 games, and I hope they keep it up.
I love the scoring, CJ. Of all of the characters involved in this series, both head coaches, goaltenders, who wants the goals to stop going in the net the most?
Well, I mean, probably the goalies, but the coaches would be close behind.
No, but is it like Paul Maurice? Like, would he say, this is just not our brand of hockey? Like, we've got to lock this thing down. I just got a scary feeling that Bobrovsky's going to just say, the party's over here.
Well, it's definitely the Florida end of things if we're thinking of it that way. I mean, one thing I've heard consistently here being around the Oilers the last week or so is they're confident even, when they get behind, they got back down 3-1 in that game 1 and came back and won, that they have the horses to sort of manufacture a goal, even though that can be so tough to do in playoffs. And, I mean, look at the Game 7 these guys played last year. It was a 2-1 game. I mean, I don't want to be out here predicting we're going to get some of those, but it wouldn't surprise me if that's where it trended. But I'm with you. As much as I can appreciate all that goes into a well-defended game, a game where the goalies stand on their heads. I mean, I think it's more exciting when you're seeing lead changes and lots of plays being made offensively. Noodles, cover your ears. But, I do think that a game with more scoring is probably the best version of hockey. I mean, maybe it's a stylistic thing that I prefer, and I can't speak broadly for everyone who watches the game, but I mean, at 4-3, 5-4 games, I mean, that's some pretty exhilarating stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? No cover in the ears. I mean, there have been one-goal games. They've been fantastic. There's been lead changes. I think the goalies have made big saves. Hayes actually referenced and said it felt like a little bit of 80s style, where it's like still a shootout, but the goaltenders make some great saves. CJ, where I wanted to go, and actually want everybody to weigh in on it. Is it better that there was 2 days off in between with the long travel, that you might not get a sleepy game tonight, as opposed to 1 day in between and 3,000 miles travel and time change and all of that?
I think for the players, 100%. I mean, for the audience at home, you might like the rhythm of just games every other night. That's probably preferable. But, keep in mind, McDavid has 66 minutes of ice time through 2 games because we've had the long overtime period. So, I mean, basically he's played the equivalent of 3 games in 2, and he's not alone. All the top players on both teams will have played a lot more. So when you factor in the travel plus the extra demands there, I think it improves. It's going to give us a much better chance of having tonight's game be good, and even moving forward. I do think some of that extra rest helps the participants. It just might slow down some of the momentum around the series, just because I get that the people at home aren't traveling across the continents themselves and playing in these games.
With Chris Johnston. So Brad Marchand has just been phenomenal throughout the whole playoffs, and he was exceptional again the other night. Put this into perspective for us, what this next contract looks like. He's a free agent, term, dollar amount, the teams he'd be interested in. What are you hearing on Marchand?
Well, what I'm hearing is he's in a position where he wants to maximize his earning potential here on the next contract. I think that, just the way things turned out, he did that 8-year deal with Boston that's coming to an end here, as of June 30th. And, he did that deal just during the World Cup tournament, if you remember back in 2016. Like, clearly his career went out there for him. And I don't think there's a lot of guardrails on that. I'm sure there's a few places he probably doesn't want to play, and some, things he's got to consider when it comes to his family. But
you think a team will offer him $8 million?
Yeah, I do. And I think he might even get 4 years. I mean, 3 years is probably the minimum it'll take. But it wouldn't surprise me if he got that kind of money. I mean, we have to adjust our mind, too. We know the cap's going up each of the next 3 seasons by pretty significant margins as well. So an $8 million player is on what that deal will be isn't what it has been in the previous system, if that makes sense. And I just think, what's really helped him is all of us wondered, if you go back to deadline day, right? He gets dealt to Boston right at the deadline, basically. If we had the conversation that night, we'd be like, how's this going to work? He spent his whole career. Like, if one guy felt like a career Bruin, I'd say it's Brad Marchand, just the way he is. He was the captain of that team here the last couple seasons. Like I would have had questions that night just about how, is he going to almost be a little heartbroken or lost, going to a new place. And the fact he's been one of Florida's, I think he's legitimately, if Florida goes and wins the cup and he keeps popping goals in, like he could get Conn Smythe consideration. I think
no doubt.
For sure.
So he hasn't just been a passenger on this ride who scored a big goal or two, and it's a nice story. Like, he's been a game changer for them. Them having that line, like, I guess Barkov, there was a question today to Maurice, so there's some, starting to get a little attention there, but the Barkov line has not dominated the way you're used to seeing it dominate. And one of the main reasons that Florida's been able to keep going is because Lundell with Listerinen and Marchand has been so good. And so, I think it's a long way of saying you've now seen him play somewhere else and it can work. He can be a culture changer, difference maker kind of guy, even, outside of the place that he was sort of born and raised as an NHL player. And, he's still playing at such a high level at 37. Obviously, there's risk in giving him that next deal, but I don't think he's going to have any trouble getting $8 million and something like 3 to 4 years on the open market.
Yeah, it sets up that way for sure because, you bring up a good point. His contract, he's made good money in his career, but he didn't make massive money.
Hayes, a team's going to get in trouble where they're going to say, we're going to give you 4 times 8, and they're going to say, Chicago's going to put him on their first line and say, you better get us 40 goals and 30 assists, and he's going to have 17 and 12, and they're going to be like, what did we do here? So you got to be careful of what you're doing, as good as he's playing right now.
Big time. Like, that's a part of it.
It's a fair point.
Unless you feel like, again, back to, that he's a culture changer too. If you feel like your organization, I'll give an example, like Buffalo, teams like that, if you feel like he can help, like his leadership, his work ethic can rub off on some of the players that need to get to the next
Jamie,
level.
His 17 and 12 might be valuable.
Well, listen, you're right. Keep in mind, so he just turned 37 in May. So he's going to play as a 37-year-old next year. But 4 years puts him at 41. So he'll be making $8 million at 41. That's a lot different. You're right. Like you have to be mindful of that. And again, there's managers. Hayes, you always say it. Kick the can down the road. We'll deal with that what we need when we will. But right now, I could see him being very valuable for many organizations for at least the next 2 calendar years. And with how hard he works, I've told you guys this before. Jerome McGinley told me when he got to Boston, he said he was amazed at how hard that group worked. Chara, Bergeron, Marchand. He said they were in unbelievable shape. Unbelievable. And so that's a guy that I wouldn't worry about as far as the drop-off as physicality. But he's a tiny guy. Like, he's not. That's the other thing. Like, he's not a big dude.
It's always been that way, though, right? That's what he's used to. And
yeah.
I just wonder,
and he's still
CJ.
up there winning puck battles with Draisaitl and guys that are physically bigger than him, too. It's crazy.
Sure is. And if it is about money, because if he's not going back to Boston, he's got no reason to give anyone any discount. Endorsement money could factor in. That would be a bigger market team, would it not? Like, to be able to find him some money on the side.
For sure. I think that's got to be part of the sales pitch if the Leafs, if that's where you're winking at here.
That's where I'm going.
Or one of the other teams. I mean, look, I can tell you this is not going to be a discount kind of deal. Like, that's just at his stage of life. And look, he's earned the right to actually go to be a true free agent. He's not going to the market saying I'm going to land in one of 3 or 4 cities. I mean, he's probably got a list, but he's really going to consider the financial windfall that can be part of it. And he wants to maximize his earnings. I see no problem with that. And frankly, in a place like Toronto, you'd think that there'd be more opportunities away from the rink to make money. I mean, he's already lining up these DQ, ads during these playoffs.
Yeah.
Like, he's clearly doesn't mind marketing himself, selling himself. He's a great personality. He's a great guy. And, I think he's going to get for people that maybe aren't dialed into it thinking about this already, he's going to get a bigger number, I think, than the average hockey fan would be expecting on July 1.
I'm pretty sure you get him in a room with Duthie and some producers and some camera crew. There could be some kind of crafty rat poison ad with Brad Marchand. Like,
there's money to be made
with
him and his personality and his creative nature. So, you've been going back and forth with the media and the Cup final, and everyone's down there. What are you hearing on Mitch Marner?
There's a lot of questions about it, I'll tell you that much, including one member of one of these teams in the dressing room the other day, like, hey, what's going on with Marner? So, I mean, it's definitely, this will be the biggest free agent in a couple of years we've had for sure in the NHL. Everyone was at the Combine, last week, so that's where a lot of the rumor game gets cranked up a bit. I don't have much to advance here. Like, I don't think that nothing in my mind has changed in terms of the likelihood that he tests free agency, all those types of things. But I don't think that we've got to a stage where that's been officially communicated yet. And really, so the dance I'm interested in personally is, as this thing goes on and it becomes abundantly 100% clear that he's not likely staying in Toronto, is there a way that maybe we're looking at a sign and trade as we get closer to July 1st? I mean, I think, again, it's a little premature for that, but the Leafs have to start to think of their options, and maybe there's a world they turn him into at least some kind of asset of use rather than having him walk away. But I think we're still at the high curiosity stage with Mitch, and it's going to be Marner mania, I'm sure, for the last 2 weeks of June as we get through the Cup final and get to the point in time where he actually is going to make a decision and can get talking to teams and all those things.
It's going to be Marner mania. There's no disputing that. Also, the Leafs have other UFAs coming up, RFAs. I think it was James Myrtle reporting that he's hearing Pacioretty may want to come back, and maybe the Leafs would be interested in that. That'd be interesting to me because during the regular season he didn't play a lot. Yet in the playoffs he showed up. But, it would have to, I would assume, CJ, if it happens, another 1-year deal at not much money.
Yeah, I think that's the scenario where it makes sense. I mean, at his age, that you can put some performance bonuses in there. You know, you can put games played bonuses too, so you can structure things that way. And he did have that kind of formula in this year's deal. Look, I think there's a place, if you're watching this final, like there's a place for older players still in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is you might have to endure some, indifferent play, you might call it. And this isn't a shot just at Pacioretty, but through the regular season, and you're hoping that these guys can bring it in the playoffs. I mean, that thinking paid off for Max Pacioretty, I'd say, last season in Toronto. But when I'm watching Corey Perry out there, like as long as this is probably this is the other side, the yin and the yang of the Marchand conversation. If you can get some of those older guys on contracts that aren't too steep, I think that they can bring a ton of value on those types of deals. And Perry's done that in multiple cities, and he's coming back next year. I asked him that question on media day before the Cup, and he made it clear he's still playing next season. I think these kind of players in the right circumstances are still very effective. So, Pacioretty, I think it's a family decision. He's got 5 kids, and he mentioned, they stayed in the Michigan area while he was living in Toronto this season. And I think that was challenging. Maybe he changes something on the family front in terms of, how that works, how much time he can spend with his family. I mean, we can all appreciate how challenging that would be. But from a physical standpoint, it's pretty clear there's some game left there. So that makes sense, and I think we've kicked around on this, but I do think, that there's been more talks now on the Tavares front with the Leafs, and still no guarantees he's back, but I think it sits in a reasonably good, position towards that happening. And so, the Leafs might try to build a team like the Oilers have now, which is a pretty old team. The Oilers have guys in their 30s all throughout the lineup, and that might be the way things end up looking in Toronto next year.
All right, CJ, Game 3 tonight. Enjoy it. We'll do it again soon.
Right on, guys. Have a great day.
Chris Johnston, our TSN Hockey Insider.
As far as Pacioretty goes, Hayes, I think ideally what you would want is, and it might work good with his family situation, you want the Teemu Selanne, Justin Williams type scenario where it's like you just sit at home and train and stay in great shape, and we'll see you in February or March because that's when we need you. Mm-hmm. We don't even want you playing 82 games because it's just no good for anybody.
No.
And obviously, I don't know how that works, but that would be the ideal scenario where it's like we know that you could be an impact guy for us, but we don't need you playing 82 games, not even close to it.
But he can add to your depth. That's the difference. Like, so Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is a game-time decision tonight. Jeff Skinner's taking that spot if Nugent-Hopkins can't play. Jeff Skinner, in and out of the lineup, all of that. The Oilers got him on a value contract. You're going to get Pacioretty on a cheaper deal even than that one because, Skinner is younger. But the point being is having valuable guys on your roster that can be in and out of the lineup is the key to going deep into the playoffs. That's really what it is. And, the Leafs are the fourth oldest team in the league this year. So if you continue to add veterans, that's all you do. You got to infuse, Nyes is going to help bring that average down. Some
Maybe
of the guys,
Cowan's playing
Cowan, Joseph Woll, guys like that who are in their mid-20s or lower. But ultimately what you're looking for, is if Pacioretty fits a role and he's not going to be overly expensive, then, and, quite frankly, I think he was valuable because he is a guy who has been able to change his game, and it's not ego there. Because this is a guy who had success and scored goals, and they asked him to play in the bottom 6 and run around and hit people and to chip in. He was able to do that. It just, it took him a little bit to get going in the playoffs. Was he a healthy scratch the first game?
Yeah,
game
he
1,
was,
right?
Yeah, he was. First couple games, I think, until they hit the road.
That's right. Game 3, he came in and scored and played very, very well. But, guys like that, that's value deals. That's terrific. If you can get him on a good contract, that adds to the depth of your group. What you need to do is have better players or younger players ahead of him that he challenges.
Right. And, again, if Tavares returns, Nyes is going to get a pay bump. But if Marner walks, they're going to have money. There's going to be flexibility. There's going to be guys they trade. There's going to be a lot happening in the next few weeks. Ray Ferraro in about 15 minutes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Major pro athlete salute to my partsy that's taking the Friday night on CFL to new levels.
Whoa,
my
yeah.
God, is he a legend?
Yep.
He's amazing.
Luke Wilson crushing it. He was in Montreal, sidelining it. CFL on TSN. It's great to have the CFL back, man. It's like it just gets rocket again, and football's back in the air. We got, again, CFL on TSN. You got mandatory camps all throughout the NFL. A bunch of NFL news coming up in the next week or so. I saw the Packers cutting Jair Alexander, who has been an all-pro cornerback in the past, but he's hurt all the time.
Why'd they gas him?
He's hurt all the time. Like I don't think he's reliable, man. He just gets hurt too often, and he's making a lot of money. And in the NFL, CFL, it's the same thing. Like they cut you. It's crazy.
If you're not going out in the field and you're just collecting paychecks, you're gone.
And he'll find another job and make a lot of money, but that's the way it goes, man. You got to make tough decisions when it comes to football. And
you know what? The one thing too, hearing that was Luke's first time to Montreal. That's got to be.
Is that right? He's never stepped foot in Montreal.
That's got to be fake news.
That has to be fake news.
I'm sure his first time was very enjoyable.
Yes. I wish I could go back to my first time in Montreal.
Yeah.
What a place.
I don't even remember my first time, but I've been there.
know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the point. That is the point.
Man.
It is a beautiful place.
Yes,
beautiful
it is.
place. All right, hour 2 coming up. Ray Ferraro will join us. The Jays are in St. Louis tonight. They're on a heater. They're red hot, the Jays. We'll touch on that a little bit later in the afternoon. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, O-Dog, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles, McLennan, Ray Ferraro coming up in a few moments ahead of Game 3 Cup final tonight. Oklahoma City with a big bounce-back win last night. That series tied 1-1. So I think we're going the distance in both, man. I do. I think the Thunder is going to win the NBA championship. I believe that. I picked the Oilers. I still think I'm on the Oilers, but I got to be honest, I don't know for sure.
You're a little bit afraid right now, too. There was a kind of, as soon as, it had a bit of a Toronto series vibe. As soon as Florida got that one and they're going home, you're like, oh, man.
That was a big win for Florida, man.
Oh,
that
my
was a
God,
big
dude.
Win. Big win in Game 2.
Well, I mean, it's a great win for Florida. Both games have been pretty much a coin flip. So, I said this before. Like, everyone lined up and, hey, McDavid, it just seems destiny and all that. Florida doesn't care. Florida's going, yeah, we're here. We're gonna try and win. And there's, like, we haven't seen Tkachuk do what Tkachuk does, and Reinhart and Barkov. Reinhart had a breakaway and he shot it.
Dude, that was
wide.
One of the worst breakaways I've ever seen from a professional hockey player who has scored 50 in a season.
From a guy that scored 50.
It wasn't even close, man.
I think he tried to overthink it, but that's the one thing I pointed out. Like, I think Edmonton has been pretty tight defensively, but their errors have been egregious. Like, they've given up. They gave up 3 breakaways last game.
Well,
you can't give up 3 breakaways.
We established the HUD on Friday, right? Thursday and Friday, Evan Bouchard.
And there was people that were called as soon as the Bouchard scored, they're like, he owns the key to the HUD.
He had 3 points in the first period.
Yes, and I looked like a genius, didn't I? And then when the game was over, the game-winning goal, everyone was like, look at Bouchard's effort, take him out of the hut. And I'm like, are you guys insane?
Well, I mean, Ekholm missed the net, so it was a bad bounce off the wall. He shouldn't get outside the dots on that play, but he's a very aggressive defenseman. Like,
he was on for both of them.
Well, he was on. Yeah, he was on. RNH, I thought, jammed him up on that short-handed one. Like, yes. RNH kind of bumbles along the wall and doesn't, it's not clean. But that's the beauty of Bouchard, we'll say it. Because Ekholm hammers this, but see, it's a bad bounce off the wall, and Bouchard was trying to pinch it off. Draisaitl catches him. This is the crazy part. You need a forward on top of that puck. Draisaitl catches Marchand. That's why I called it a moldy goal, because Draisaitl was there.
I think the goalie's got to have this.
I think the goalie's got to have this too. Like, the one thing, and I reached out to Mike Kelly. I haven't gotten a response because I wanted analytically. Now, Skinner didn't. He was 0 for 2 on breakaways. Really 1 for 3 technically on the Reinhart, but Reinhart, you didn't get a shot on goal. Mm-hmm. Sagan scored on a breakaway against Dallas. That was a clear-cut breakaway. That's the one thing that I would like to see. And again, I'm nitpicking. I thought Stu Skinner played very, very well. But you need that big save. Bobrovsky's given them. Like, Bobrovsky, now Game 1, it was Skinner that was one shot better than Bobrovsky, but Edmonton really poured it to him. Had 24 chances, 24-15 in that first game. But there was nowhere else for Marchand to go on that play. Draisaitl had pushed him to the backhand, and Marchand kind of just throws it back, and it hits the right pad and trickles in. It was a moldy goal. I felt bad for Skinner, but he needs a game here too. Like, Skinner's going to need a game on the road here in the next 2 to go, hey, I'm giving you a chance to win a cup here too.
Big time. Yeah, generally speaking, I mean, every series, usually the goalie has to be responsible for at least one.
Right.
Where clearly he's the best player, or clearly the reason the team won. And I don't think that's been the case. You mentioned Bob was great in Game 1, but they lost that game.
Right.
In Florida, where I think Game 1 was the Draisaitl game, Game 2 was the Marchand game, and McDavid's been in the middle of that. Like, I was trying to think of putting a hut together for the first 2 games, like the 5 best players, if you want to leave it at that, or 3 best players. I know the bouncer of the hut.
Let's do 5.
Yeah, I mean,
For the hut.
For me, I would have.
Who has the key? Who, like, the creak? I want Joe from the Bridge or JP to get a creaking door opening for this segment when we do it in the future. The door opens. Who gets to go in? Numero uno.
I would put McDavid in 1. I think he would go in first for me. I think he's been pretty good through 2 games, man.
I would think
You got to
Draisaitl,
put
too.
McDavid in. Any hut, like, he
Okay,
builds
so
the
McDavid,
hut.
Draisaitl. I think Marchand's got to be in there.
Yep, I agree.
Dude, he has got a corner bed, like a unit where he's like, I'm in this
Okay.
hut, and I don't care who else is
Sam
out there.
Bennett. Would you have Sam Bennett as one of the?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then who's-
I'll give him a talking to on the way to the hut and say, this is a very
yourself.
exclusive hut. It's gorgeous in here.
I can
Okay.
give you a
Don't
crazy
run
one.
over
so
anybody in
who's
the
fifth?
kitchen.
I
Who's
can
the,
give you a
there's only one
crazy
spot
one.
left.
It might be Bouchard, but I also think it could be Corey Perry.
Perry's been good. I was thinking Bouchard. Like on Florida's side of things. I don't know, like Forsling, but there's been a lot of
Forsling
goals.
was unbelievable last game. I thought he was. His stick. Like, he was breaking plays up. I thought he did a terrific
I
job.
think you might put Gus in there as the 5th to wrap up the hut.
Not over Bouch. Sorry.
Well,
You
Bush
have
is
Bouchard.
I mean, this guy's, like, producing. Like, that's the one thing. That
He
goal
is,
was
but
ridiculous.
again, he gets beat, man.
Yeah, he does, but
He
it's
does-
not.
he does
doesn't
get
get.
beat.
He's not the direct
He's
result
not exactly
of
the
those plays.
reason for it, but he is
Exactly.
chasing guys up the ice while they're on breakaways.
Yeah.
A lot. Here's Ray Ferraro joining us, who had to leave us abruptly last week. I'm sure you were worried about our safety, Ray, but we're fine, as you
Yeah,
can
we
see.
were so mad we had to hang up with you and go home to our comfy couches.
I was hoping that your booth was made out of metal.
It was. It was. And that's why we ran for our lives.
I would have paid money to see you guys scramble out of there. That would have been good.
But we don't have to worry about that today, so it's all good. And last week we stumbled across this bit. We're always talking about the hut, which really has no definition whatsoever.
Yeah, well, I'm behind on this. What is the
Here's
hut?
what happened, Ray. I said if there was a little hut out in the wilderness and only the best defenseman went into this hut, Cale Makar goes in first, and I said number 2 in the hut that gets a VIP suite is Evan Bouchard. And Hayes' head almost popped off of his body.
You know how much I hate to agree with Hayes. You got that. But
Yes.
I'm on. I hate to say it. I'm on Team Hayes here.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you. I mean,
Quinn Hughes is number 2.
ahead of him, clearly ahead of him.
But, guys, you can't argue with the playoff performance. I mean, the guy just comes up and performs, where some other guys, you can't find them come playoff time. I don't want to get into this all again, but
Go ahead,
There
Ray.
is
You
a-
speak on
there
Bouchard,
certainly-
though.
Okay, so there certainly is a difference between regular season Bouchard and the one in the playoffs. Like, it's not even close. Yet, every once in a while, he does some things that make you think, like, he's just kind of wandered away from the game. Like, if in the second game, if before the game he didn't know how to spell Marchand's name, by the end he would have known it because he kept chasing him back up the ice on the breakaways.
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand how that happens. Like, the swings for him are, like, they're incredible. For somebody that's that good, that stuff really shouldn't happen. And even though it's like, it wasn't his mistake, perhaps, like, he seems at times like he's a half a second slow reading a play. And I'm talking about being in the elite of the defenseman, not whether he's a very good one. That's not even a question. Like, would you take him or would you take Zach Werenski?
Well, that's what we were talking about. I mean, Werenski.
Like,
I don't know, man. I might lean Werenski.
I was-
guys, we're not doing the same segment
I
twice.
know that, I
Bouchard's my
understand.
guy. I'm going to take
we
Bouchard
get
to my
it that
team.
you're
okay,
Bouchard.
and so, and for many reasons, your hut apparently would be different than my hut.
Yes.
Okay,
Very different
Ray,
ones.
let me just ask you this. If we want to just briefly stick to this, if there's an Olympic team hut out in Alberta around the Olympic ice surfaces, does Bouchard go on the Olympic team hut?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
we go. That's what I thought.
But I mean, just think of what happened though at that Four Nations thing. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, Thomas Harley's really good. Jesus,
Yeah.
Sanheim's really good. And so, like, guys that might not pop to your head right away, you're like, well, Taves and Makar are going to be there. That's two. Mm-hmm. And, like, it gets crowded in a hurry. But I think I would have Bouchard in my you have an 8th defenseman. I've got him for sure in my 8.
What's interesting about that is Pietrangelo pulled out of the Four Nations. Does he throw his name back into the ring and say, well, I'm willing to play this time? And if so, do they have a decision to make? Do they take him or do they take Bouchard? Did he lose his spot? I guess we'll find that out.
They got 10 months to figure that out. But
yes.
A lot of that stuff will be like in the last month, who's playing the best.
Exactly, which is what it should be.
Right.
Yeah.
Ray, in terms of like Sam Bennett, this guy scores goals and he runs into goalies. Like that's what he does. He scores goals and runs into goalies. At this point, it cannot be a coincidence anymore. It's not a coincidence. But are you surprised at all that the league effectively has done nothing? I don't recall him getting a penalty at any point for goalie interference. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he got one in the Carolina game.
No, he got one last
game. He did the other night when he fell on the goalie.
Yes, he did. You're right. And then it was coincidental because Tkachuk went in too. You're right. But, this guy, it seems to be coached. Like, it seems to be a philosophy maybe by the Panthers, yet he's kind of leading the charge at it. What do you think the league should do here? Because it is a real storyline of the Cup final.
Okay. So we can look at him and say, yeah, he ran into Stolarz and he ran into this guy and he ran into that guy and it's 2 games and he's run into Skinner twice. And, you build this case of, repetition. But the official on the ice can only call the play that's there. Whether it's reputation preceded or not, he can only call what he gets to call in that moment. We all get a replay. He can't say, geez, I think he ran into him. I'm not sure. Like I did the Stolarz game, and honestly, I didn't think much of the play at the time at all. I thought, well, I guess he did hit him, but when I see it on the replay, I'm like, oh, I see it much clearer. Well, they don't get any of that. So, over and over and over again, it's like when Corey Perry was young, it was no accident that if somebody was lying on the ice behind the play, I didn't even have to look at the play, and I knew that if Perry was out there, he probably had something to do with it. It was just like of course he did, but you can't give him a penalty because of course he did unless you saw it. And right. So I think that's, every team gets coached, crowd the goalie, don't let him get out on top of the blue. I thought for sure, and I think it's been pretty clearly a strategy, that Skinner would have a tougher time in this series fighting for his ice because Florida fights way harder back than Dallas did in front of the net. Like Dallas was an easier clear for Edmonton and then for Skinner to see. And I figured there'd be a lot of this mess. It's become a real story for sure. I mean, all they can do is tell them before the game, tell both teams, which they have that meeting in the morning with the supervisor, and he tells them we're watching the crease. All you tell your guys to stay out of the blue, and that's what we're looking for. I mean, that's all they can do, and then they have to call whatever they see. But they can't say, he did this 6 times this year, that's probably a penalty. Of course they can't do that.
We were talking before you came on about the old veterans in for both teams. You got Brad Marchand at 36 or 37 years old, and he's playing at the top of his game, and Corey Perry scores the game-tying goal with 17 seconds left. It's not like these guys are just fading away into the sunset. Both of them are contributing at their age.
I think they both, in one way that they're similar, is that they both. I mean, Marchand's a better skater, but they both play with their head so much, like head over speed, head over physicality, head over strength. Like they do all those things, but they're both so smart. Like Marchand knows when to poach, and he ends up with the breakaway that comes out on the winner in overtime. He got beat on the Draisaitl game winner, but he's they're pressuring so hard. If Edmonton can make 5 passes like they did, they deserve to score. Like his head is balancing risk and reward, and it's pretty obvious that he's got a great feel for it. Perry, I've come to this thought, like, nobody moves less and does more than him. He doesn't chase the play. He doesn't chase the puck. He's always around where the puck is going to get to, and that to me is smart. We ask lots of times about players' hockey IQ and what is it, and that's what it is. He's not running around, with 27 hits and never getting to the puck. He hits when it's there. He's physical when he has to be. He's clearly not as mobile as he used to be, but he's got all of these games of experience, and he just knows where to be. Like, how many times does he have his stick right at the puck? Doesn't go in all the time, of course, but he's got it. He's on the play all the time. And I think those two, that's what I see with those two guys that really impresses me. I mean, I played till I was 37. The ice was going uphill the last year, both ways.
Right.
And they were like, man, they seem to be able to get around it and be in the right place more often than not.
Something to chew on, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. This playoff season, Boston Pizza is planning the parade and has a new all-star playoff menu for you to enjoy. For pizza, pints, and puck drops, visit your local Boston Pizza today. We're asking Ray online, curious your take on this. Is Brad Marchand a first-ballot Hall of Famer?
Oh, well, I guess it would depend who else comes up that year, but I would have said a couple years ago I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's really, really, really good. The lack of, league awards will probably hurt him. His team successes will certainly be a bonus. He's clearly not ready to finish off. He's got a couple of good years in front of him. I'm going to guess no on the first, but I think he's played his way into being a voted-in member for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what it feels like. He's kind of got like a Mark Recchi type career where he's going to play a million games and by the end be just under a point a game, but he's famous too, right? Like, it is the Hall of Fame. Like, that's a part of it. Your name, your personality. He plays for Canada. He's teamed up with Sid and Bergeron and all that. And if he sneaks in another cup or two, right, that's definitely going to factor in. But I'd agree. I'm not sure it's first ballot. Go ahead, Noodles.
Yeah, I think he's pretty decorated. I mean, it would be. It's on the line. I agree, Ray. Depends on, who's coming up that year. I wanted to ask you, you've been between the benches and throughout the playoffs. Is it been more of an epidemic? Like, how many times are guys getting kicked out of the draw? Like,
oh my gosh.
I'll tell a quick story, Ray. When you and I played together with the Islanders, I remember, you always had a little bit of a long-standing beef with Kevin Collins, but you would get kicked out, and I remember you would be yelling, like, they're not here to watch you. Just drop the puck. And, I swear, I feel like Draisaitl's yelling that the whole time because I don't know how many times these guys are getting kicked out. Like, is it something different or is it just that big of a battle for that particular draw?
I think it's everybody's a little, well, it's like everything. Everybody's a little bit more aggressive for positioning and that. But I'll be honest with you. When a guy gets kicked out, half the time I have no idea why he's getting kicked out.
Right.
It doesn't look any different to me than the guy gets kicked out, the next guy comes in, and it's the same play, but the puck's on the ice. Like, I don't have a feel anymore. Before, you could tell, like, somebody would cheat so obviously and come flying through the dot, and they'd kick that guy out. Now, I really don't know why, but it seems like there's some games where, like, even the fans, they've taken notice that, oh my God, is this puck ever going to get on the ice?
Yeah.
And Draisaitl does give it to them for sure. And honestly, you're sour when you get kicked out. Maybe it's a face-off you've got an advantage on, right? And you get kicked out and you think it's a lost thing. Like, we used to argue all the time. That's where, like, Kevin Collins was the guy that I did have a long problem with, and he would give it to me and I would give it back to him, and it never ever got resolved, of course. And so the two things I would say was just, you got two jobs: drop the puck and call the icing. That's it. So can we move along here? And that never went over well. I never understood that.
Yeah. Shockingly, you probably didn't get the benefit of the doubt very often. Yeah, not surprisingly. Yeah, but it's interesting, where this Cup final is at, because, Barkov is now under the spotlight because he hasn't scored, no goals, no assists, -4, I think it is. Yet they're tied 1-1, and, he's had moments throughout the playoffs where he's been brilliant. I thought he was great in Carolina, especially that Game 5 closeout game. But he didn't do much against the Leafs either. Like, it's kind of been Sam Bennett in the third line, Bob showing up. Is that glass half full or glass half empty if you're the Panthers? Are you looking at this thinking once Barkov and Reinhart arrive in the series, look out? Or would you be concerned maybe they won't, and if they don't, you can't beat the Oilers?
Well, I think this Florida team is set up as well as anybody to not have anybody they really particularly need to score because they get goals from somebody. And that to me is real depth. So at one point in the series, or earlier in the playoffs rather, they had like 6 guys had 7 points. Nobody leading with 12 or anything. Everybody had the same. And so it seems like when a guy goes quiet, somebody else is able to backfill around them. One guy that does that, when he gets hot, boy, he's tough to handle, and he plays an odd game sometimes, is Verhaeghe. Like, when he gets hot, like, that guy scores 4 games in a row. And that would be a guy I would look at in this. I wonder if Reinhart's healthy, because he doesn't look at all as effective as he has been, certainly last year. But remember when he got hit by Aho in the Carolina series, he missed the next game, and he's really not been much of a factor. Right? Usually Barkov and Reinhart control chunks of their shifts, like a lot of them, and that's not happened. I think I guess I would look at it glass half full, but I would be concerned that if they don't untrack themselves a bit, that might be a hole that Edmonton can take advantage of, because they're both so good. They're just such good players. But man, last year Edmonton got to Game 7 and Draisaitl didn't score a goal in the final, right? And you would have thought that wouldn't have been possible either.
Well, that's true, and that's the flip side of it. Like, McDavid shown up and had some highlight reel, just brilliant
what a play,
plays.
Eh?
Yeah.
The other night was just silly. Like, he had Ekblad turned around 3 times there.
Yep.
And I loved this interview Ekblad's after, and he just said, when he said, yeah, and McJesus. Like,
yeah, exactly.
What do you want me to do? Right.
You can't even be that angry. Like, you're just like, what am I supposed to do with this guy, man? He's flying around at that pace, and he could stop on a dime, and he's got the silkiest hands, and like Draisaitl, just you can watch it. Like, we're watching it up on TV, and you talk about The Office. Like, Ovechkin has his that he's had forever. Like, is anyone better on their offside, with a left-handed stick than Draisaitl? Like, who is?
God, it's unreal.
And everything's
low down.
Exactly. It's always low down. He always sniffs it out, and he always gets something on it. He always gets it up. Like, it's just always in. I don't remember missing it.
He's got a goalie blade, too, he's got a shovel for a stick.
Isn't that an ugly looking thing? It looks like a boat oar, and he's like, and it just comes off there like a rocket.
Yeah.
What he does couple things for him. As soon as McDavid starts circling the zone, if you can get a look at Draisaitl, he starts to get lost and then get in that area right below the dot. So McDavid already knows he's just passing it to a spot because Draisaitl's there. The second thing is he rarely misses the net. And I think that is such a underrated skill, or we don't talk about it enough. Oh, like, you scored a lot of goals, right? Like, how about when you had a scoring chance and you missed the net? You'd be like, oh, like, it's one thing when you get beat by the goalie. But when you miss the net, you're like, man, it's like it's not even a chance. Draisaitl doesn't miss the net very much. I think those two, they're so different and they're so complementary to each other. I love watching them play because they're like the greats. Like Bossy and Trottier didn't have to look. They just knew. Gretzky and Curry, they didn't look. They just knew. And these two guys they're the same, right? And it's hard to stop. I guess the best way is just try not to take 4 penalties because they're probably going to get 1 for sure if you give them that.
Yep. That's the truth. And yet, Hyman's out, and we're not sure if Nugent Hopkins will play tonight. Like, that's a big hit if he doesn't go, Ray. Like, that's a big hit. Him and Reinhart, to me, are very similar. Reinhart's more of a goal scorer, but their versatility, their penalty-killing power play, they don't need the puck a lot to be effective. They're really smart, underrated, complete players, and they're both really, really critical to their teams. If Nuge can't play tonight, that's a big hole for them.
Yeah.
Ray, just let me ask it quickly before we get you out of here. What hole are you on in the golf course? It seems like
I'm just finished. I am outside. I had to drop my car off to get the tires switched out. I'm really, really sharp getting the winter tires off in June. But anyway, played pretty good today, 78. So I was happy with that. Putted well.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, you break 80, man. You'll take it every day of the week.
Yeah, but it is no 64 or 5 or 6.
Right.
That's not pal, but it's good stuff anyway. Everybody's got different expectations. It's all good.
Oakmont scoring, man.
No, I got great. I got big expectations. They just never meet them. That's the problem.
You just keep chasing those dreams, right? That's why we keep going out, man.
That's it.
That's
that
the
is
beauty of it. All right, buddy. Thanks for doing this. We appreciate it.
Okay, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day. See ya.
You got it. There's Ray Ferraro joining us here on the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in Canada fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4. Gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com. How much does it snow out there? Like, I'm almost a little bit surprised. I would think a lot of people don't.
I don't think you don't need snow tires in Vancouver.
I wouldn't think so.
I have
Like
people from
rains.
Vancouver telling me all the time that you can tee it all year round.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
In Victoria, you can, for sure.
Definitely.
But when I was there, you just look over a valley or a hill, and it's like there's snow, and I'm like, who the hell's where are you teeing it?
Well,
but
if you
people
go up-
swear
More
you're
mountain.
teeing it in Van.
Yes.
Yeah, but you
all
go
year.
up in the mountain, you go up to Grouse Mountain, like there's snow, Whistler, all of that. But down in the valley, like it rains. Again, I'm exaggerating, but it feels like it rains 9 months out of the year. Like
That's
Seattle,
the thing.
Vancouver.
You got to be willing to play through that kind of those elements.
But they
man.
have, Vancouver's such a beautiful city. They've got so much, but that it is a city that you can snow ski in the morning, up in the mountains, and go to the beach in the afternoon. That's literally a city you can do that.
That's cool.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
So nice of Ray to slide us in while he's out there. I love that. Getting his tires changed on June 9th.
Yeah.
All right, we've got Keegan Matheson coming up. Some news on Max Scherzer. We'll tell you about that. Graham Delet coming up from Oakmont as well. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Just knowing your team's got your back.
It's not just sports.
We do this in life too.
Show up, support,
Push each other forward.
When we come together, we can handle anything.
Let's huddle up, Canada.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Graham Delet will join us in about a half an hour. Keegan Matheson in about an hour. We got some Max Scherzer news I'll tell you about in just a moment. But the Overdrive PGA picks brought to you by TaylorMade. When you need more performance, distance, and speed from your golf ball, it's time to switch. Learn more about the all-new TP5 and TP5X at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. Unfortunately, neither of us had Ryan Fox as our winner for the RBC Canadian Open. I had Sam Burns, though, and the guy's hanging over a 5-foot putt in the first playoff hole, and he just blew it past.
Yeah.
Like, no other way to put it.
Yeah, it's not like it was – you want to know something? Like, he just blows this one through the break. There's just no other way to describe that. It looked like it had some left turn, but he just hammered it.
Yeah.
There was another something crazy. Cam Young.
Oh, man.
Dude, that guy was – I saw his interview, and he was right down the middle, and he grabbed a 3-wood, and he ripped it long. But he was acting like he got screwed or something. He was like, I ripped a 3-wood perfectly, and I thought it was going to be 12 feet for Eagle to win the tournament, and I ended up near the trees, like near the forest. And I'm like, yeah, that's what
golf.
Yeah,
exactly.
you ripped a 3-wood 270 into the wind, and you did that. Like, what? There wasn't nothing screwed you there, but it looked like he was pissed off at something.
I don't know what he thought, because he blew it like through the rough into the junk. You know, like
Dude,
it was
he
in
just
fescue.
roasted the thing, and it ended up in a bad spot. But I kind of got
the swing on it too. Like his chip, like Nost called it immediately. He decelerated. Like it was a bad play. He still could have got up and down.
But
there.
I just hope that he was not kind of chippy towards anything else but himself. Because he was like, I hit 2 great shots, should have been putting for Eagle. It's like, yeah, but you weren't. You roasted it long left. Like you were in near the trees. That's what you did.
Right, exactly. Like it's a frustrating sport, and he's never won. Like Cameron Young's never won a tour event, and he had that almost miraculous par on 17. Well, that's what it was. He almost went completely out of bounds and lost his ball right, found it, chopped out, and ends up, parring the hole and stays in the tournament. But, yeah, I mean, Sam Burns is a guy that's won a lot on tour, and he just looked nervous. Like he missed a 5-foot putt. He chunked a wedge on the 3rd playoff hole. He got lucky it didn't roll back into the water.
Yeah.
It wasn't played well yet. I thought it was interesting, and I thought it was cool that they cut a new cup, for was it the 4th playoff hole, I believe? Mm-hmm. Because they weren't going to move, which I've never seen before. I was a bit surprised they didn't play the 9th hole, because the 9th hole is right on the other side of the 18th. It's a really cool par 4. But they chose not to do it. But if you're going to continue to play the same hole, you mentioned maybe moving the tees up. I like, though, put a different cup. Like, cut a different cup. You could do it. You have the tools to do it. And it kept the grandstand there. It kept everyone on basically around the green. Around the green guy was on fire. And in the end, it was a cool tournament. And
I couldn't believe during the playoff, they showed McDavid guy. You know the guy I'm talking about.
Yes.
I saw McDavid guy with all of his autographs and his signs, and I'm like, you put him on TV.
He was there every single day. We saw him on Wednesday for the Pro-Am. That guy was there just sending out positive energy and vibes.
Oh, really? Yeah,
I guess.
To everyone except me.
Except for you. Yes.
Yeah. But don't you agree moving the tee? Like, just say if there's a playoff, the tee goes right here. And you
make
can
it
move
an
the
action
pin.
hole, man.
Yeah, make it an action hole. That's why I've never understood. Like, it has to do with location, too, because after the U.S. Open, they are going to Hartford, and the most exciting hole on Hartford is that short par 4. I think it's 16. Mm-hmm. Or 15. It's a short par 3. It's like 298. Like, that's where the playoff should be. Because it's 3-wood and you can make an eagle, and it's going to be over quick. Somebody might hit it in the water, and that would end quickly. You go to a par 5, there is a chance that you could be bebopping around. And I've never understood. You're taking the guys back to the tee in carts. Drive them back out to the fairway in the carts. Like, just get them back out there.
Just start on the fairway? Don't even have them tee off?
No. Once they hit their tee shots, everyone get back on the carts and go to your ball.
Yes, just Put the carts in
Get it
action for
moving
the
a
rest
little
of the
bit
playoffs.
instead of watching the guys walk back and forth. Get them back in the get them back in the carts. Take them to their ball.
Yes. The Overdrive PGA Picks brought to you by TaylorMade. When you need more performance, distance, and speed from your golf ball, it's time to switch. Learn more about the all-new TP5 and TP5X at TaylorMadeGolf.ca. So Keegan will join us in just under an hour. He tweeted out a few moments ago, Max Scherzer is on track to make a rehab start Friday in Buffalo. After that, he'll need at least one more rehab outing, says John Schneider. So this is where the Bowden Francis world collides possibly with Scherzer, but you're kind of nervous for both options, quite frankly, because the Jays their bats are alive, man. Their bats are. I love this Bichette into Guerrero into Barger. That 1-2-3, I love it. I love the action. I love the energy. They're all young. Springer's hitting big home runs. He did it again over the weekend, to his credit. And
wow,
Alejandro
look at the
Kirk
positivity, man. Look what you just said.
There is a lot of positivity around this team right now.
I know. This
and they deserve
Barger
credit.
is mashing, man. I love this guy. He's a stud.
Yes. I mean, again, he's hitting third in the order. Like, that's because they're not getting anything literally from Santander because he's on the IL, and prior to him being injured, he did nothing. Like, Jimenez is back. He had a big start to the year, hit for some power, and he's done nothing, and he's been injured. Scherzer hasn't even been pitching. Like, all the acquisitions from the offseason, they're not even playing. And if they are playing, they're not contributing. So it really has been about Bichette coming alive, Kirk's come alive, Springer's played well, and Barger's arrived. And now Vladdy's starting to heat up, and that's what was necessary. The bats had to come alive. They had to start putting a streak together like they have recently, where they're winning a lot of ball games. But this Bowden Francis situation, I just cannot see them allowing him to start more than one or two times. And I think they're buying their time for Scherzer to return. But even that's a gamble at what he's going to look like.
Ideal situation, you would say, Scherzer, this guy's so dialed in, Francis, that you can just take your sweet-ass time because this guy's a young guy. He's a stud. He's given us 5 or 6, and we love him, and it's a continuation of last year. So, Scherzer, you go down to the Complex League, and you have as many rehab starts as you want because this guy's doing it for us. But it's the complete opposite. They're probably dying for Scherzer to get back.
Yes, they are.
Dying.
They are.
This guy, yeah, we talked about him earlier, Hayes. He's a slump killer, or he's a win killer,
he's
streak
a rally
killer
is what
yeah,
he
he's
is.
a rally killer. They're on a heater, and as soon as that guy goes on the hill, they're getting throttled.
It's unfortunate because, it's one thing for him to throw a lot of pitches to get out of jams. It's one thing for him not to go deep in games or whatever. This guy is getting hammered. Like, he's given up more home runs than anyone else in baseball.
And, dude, he's in a bad spot. Do you see him in the dugout? Like, he's just...
I feel for him because
I know.
last year...
when you're the main guy and every time you go out there you're getting slaughtered and you're the reason why the team is losing every time you're on the bump, you're like, I'm at rock. As far as him being a professional athlete, you get to certain places where it's rock bottom. He can't be far away.
No, he's in a dark place. And he did not have a good spring. And this is the danger when you project... 10 to 12 starts and just think, all right, he's found it, as opposed to it being lightning in a bottle. Francis has found it because, like, his stats last season from August 1st onward were literally Cy Young stuff.
Dude,
like,
it was incredible, and I hate to go down this path, but do you remember when Tanner Roark was going out there and getting absolutely shredded?
Yes.
And they were almost like, nothing to see here. He's just going to continue to get better and bring his stuff, and he's going to go out there. And they kept wheeling him out, and he kept getting rocked. And finally, they just said, get lost.
And
like, we can't.
They
we
committed
cannot
to him
do it.
because they paid him so much money. Like, Francis is not in the same situation.
No, I know, but it has that vibe where it's like, really? You're going to wheel him out there again and get rocked? Because he's getting rocked every time.
Well, and that's the thing. And listen, they effectively have 3 pitchers right now. It's Barrios, Bassett, and Gossman. They're going to go with an opener, I believe, on Wednesday, the 3rd game of this series against St. Louis. So even, like, their hope, obviously, was Francis and Scherzer would wrap up the 5-man rotation. But I don't see how Francis gets more than a start or two. And even, again, when Scherzer returns, if he returns, like, just because he's going to have a rehab start or two does not mean he's getting through that. Does not guarantee anything. But when he returns, at some point he's going to have a start skipped. Like, it's almost a foregone conclusion. Scherzer's not going to return, and you're just going to see him on the mound every fifth day for the rest of the year. Like, it's just, you have to prepare for another injury or another hiccup or him to miss a start here or there. It's going to happen.
Well, it's got to be frustrating, Brian, for a starting pitcher because there's so many different elements to it. Like, there's the mechanics, the delivery, and then you get into what you're throwing, how you're throwing it to who, and to continue to struggle after trying to break down all of those, like you must get to a point where you're like, what the hell am I doing out there?
Well, that's the question, man. And it's been, Francis has been criticized for not pitching inside enough, like being afraid to attack different hitters. And then yesterday he goes inside, and we saw the highlight. The guy hit it basically to Lake Minnetonka. I mean, it was just, he destroyed the ball. So that's the problem, is to your point.
Yeah. He looked at someone in the dugout and said, you want one inside? Here's one inside.
I'll give you
Watch
one
this.
inside. You want a Ricky Vaughn inside? If you can hit it, you can name it. And the guy named it. And that's the thing. When your head is in a blender, man, in pro sports, especially in that position, because like you said, you have to have the stuff, you have to commit to the stuff, then you got a game plan. And even if you throw the right pitch, that doesn't mean the guy's not going to hit it. And everything has spiraled out of control for Francis. And he didn't have a great spring, and it's unfortunate. But even with all this, again, I don't want to drag on the negative. Like, Francis is one thing. A couple of other guys haven't necessarily pulled their weight, or there's been some injuries, yet they're in a really good spot. Like, the Jays have won a lot of games here lately.
I know, but
they're putting up big numbers offensively.
If you had to have, like, there's big-time decisions coming up relatively soon in that business, the business of baseball. Like, if you sat with ownership and you had to make an honest assessment, like, are you going to sell assets to improve this team for the now? Like, what would make sense?
I think
what makes sense, the approach at the deadline for these guys?
Ideally,
I'm having a difficult
control.
time to buy into it, man.
I hear what you're saying. Now, again, I think they're 10-3 in their last 13. They're in a wild card spot right now. Seems unlikely you catch the Yankees. Seems unlikely. The Yankees likely win the division, but the wild card in the American League is really not. It's not that great. It's not that great. And if you can look at your own guys and think Santander, when healthy, is going to produce, you have to believe in that. Jimenez, I'm not convinced will, because he hasn't hit for years. He's just got to be the best Gold Glove second baseman in the game. That has to happen. Scherzer, Francis, what you get there, I'm not certain moving forward. But everything else, I think, is there for them to at least be competitive. And I think if you're going to trade assets, you're going to be careful in terms of what you're giving up. Again, it's difficult to answer this question because we don't know who's available and who we're actually discussing. But ideally, it's someone with team control. You bring in somebody or a guy or two that you feel like you can build with, or you feel comfortable in signing and keeping around as opposed to rentals, because just because you're on a heater in the beginning of June does not mean you're a World Series contending team, and I don't think they are. I'm not suggesting they're a World Series contending team, but can they make the dance? Sure. Is the American League watered down? I think we've seen enough to realize that, yes, that in fact is the case. We'll ask Keegan this in about 45 minutes. Keegan Matheson at 6:30. Graham Delet coming up live from Oakmont. He's down there covering the U.S. Open. So GD will join us in about 20 minutes. His take on the Canadian Open, his take on the U.S. Open, and Game 3 of the Cup Final tonight. We'll continue to look ahead to that. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Graham Delet in about 15 minutes. Keegan Matheson coming up. We'll get into this Red Sox rookie Hunter Dobbins chirping the Yankees as well before starting against them yesterday.
Didn't Judge take him like
first pitch? He mashed. Now this kid, I think he's throwing like 98, high 90s. Like he could throw. But first pitch, Judge took him deep. And the kid's name is Hunter Dobbins. He grew up a Red Sox fan. He's from Texas, and he said before his first start against the Yankees, they were the last team or the final team to offer me a contract, I'd retire.
But you know what, Hayes? I like it because how many times have we said, or we watched got to get it in deep and get on the forecheck, or it's like, I'm in the big leagues, really happy, since a little like. It's just he's
playing to the crowd too, man. Like they will love that.
Look, the guy's a Red Sox guy. He's just playing to the crowd. Like everyone in Boston loves the guy. You're playing the Yankees. It's a marquee moment, a marquee matchup. What the hell? Let it fly. I don't think it was egregious. Like I don't think he was disrespectful. It's just coming with a little heat, a little spice.
It's also not something people are going to hold him to in 8 or 9 years. If
next week it's gone.
Yeah, exactly. Like Johnny Damon's a great example of that. Damon, Mr. Boston, Mr. Red Sox, the face of the jerks.
Yeah, the idiots with the beards and the long hair.
And then the second the Yankees were like, well, we'll pay you, this much money. He's like, all right, I'm a Yankee now.
Yeah, won a World Series with the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. And the same thing could apply here, but it means more because of the Yankees, clearly. Like if this was, you're playing the Cubs and you drop that line, or the Blue Jays, no one would even pay attention. They'd be like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
But it's almost like you got to prove you're a Red Sox fan, and in order to do that, you got to say something like this and really take a jab at the Yankees. And
what I give him props for is he said it in New York too.
Yeah, let's go. Sunday Night Baseball, let's go. And the Sox
he didn't wait. He didn't wait for it until it was in Boston. He did it in New York.
Yep, and Judge, we actually have the audio and video of Judge because he was asked about the comments after the game. Here's what he had to say.
I really didn't hear about it until I think Eduardo Perez he told me before the game, but I've only heard King Griffey say that, so I was a little surprised.
Is that at all in your head first getting at that?
Well, once somebody tells you, yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, in the end, it didn't work out so well for the Yankees. Again, the Sox won the last 2 games of that series, but I think you need that type of personality in sports. I'm with you, man. I don't think it means anything. I'm not going to hold him to it. I'm not convinced he won't be a Yankee at some point. Probably not, but he might be a Yankee at some point down the road. They might trade for him. Like, that's another thing, right? Like then it's not even about signing. It's about being traded for.
Yeah.
But in the end, we need more personality in sports, man.
Yeah. By the way, what a matchup that is. Like my time living in the States, Sunday Night Baseball, almost every series that they played each other was a marquee series, and I'll watch Red Sox Yankees every damn time it's on.
Best. Well,
I don't even care if the teams aren't good. There's just something about it where it's baseball and you got to watch it.
That was the beauty of yesterday, man. You had the French Open, which is an all-time classic, like just an all-time great match. Then you had the RBC Canadian Open go to a 4-hole playoff. You had the NBA playoffs. Game 2 was pretty good. Like Oklahoma City was I think they were in the driver's seat basically the whole game, and you kind of felt like they were going to redeem themselves, which they did. And then you had Sunday Night Baseball with the Yankees and Sox. Like it's nonstop, like one after the other after the other. It was a great day of sports. All right, final hour coming up. Graham Delet live from Oakmont ahead of the U.S. Open. His take on this tournament upcoming. His take on the tournament we just saw at the RBC Canadian Open. Keegan coming up as well from St. Louis ahead of Game 1 of the Jays and Cardinals series. And, of course, Game 3 of the Cup final tonight. We'll tee that up with our best bets powered by FanDuel. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050, soon to be up on TSN 2.
I tell you something.
How did that not go in? They'll have to look at that.
He got it with the goal stick. Oh my.
Do you
believe that?
A magician.
That's incredible.
Doesn't get any closer than that.
Poquitito.
Gerardo Martínez por arriba. Cano no llega. Cano con lo justo. Cano con lo justo. Era un golazo de Gerardo Martínez.
Maravilloso.
Espectacular.
Los dos. Ya sabía Gerardo Martínez que juega adelantado, Cano.
They have not been able to get it done. Lindros left it in the middle. Leclerc for his second. Clap! Oh, what a save! Do you believe that? Dominic Hasek, an impossible save on Trent Clapp. The net was wide open.
Well, if it wasn't Dominic Hasek, I probably wouldn't believe it, but that's kind of routine around here. That's right. Bow to the master. Hail to the master.
Redknapp. Goodness me, have you ever seen anything like that in your life from a goalkeeper? That is quite the most remarkable piece of goalkeeping I have ever seen. Extraordinary piece of work by Higuita.
Well, he fakes the shot back to Kopitar. He'll walk it in. Shoot! And it's knocked down right back to him. A save by Vasilevsky. And he keeps it out of the net. Reaching behind him. He had it in his glove.
He has made some fabulous saves so many different ways this year. But that one was unique. How about that? Is that any good? Preventing that one from going through the crease. That is some kind of radar-like catch there.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Final hour OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. We'll get a same-game parlay cooking later this hour for Game 3 of the Cup Final. Graham Delet will join us from Oakmont ahead of the U.S. Open in about 5 minutes. Keegan Matheson in St. Louis. Love seeing this, man. The Cards, great baseball town. The Cardinals, a great, great organization. I'm sure there'll be a lot of Blue Jay fans down there. Your old neck of the woods, Noodles, St. Louis, Missouri. Gritty town. Big good baseball town, man. Great sports town.
It actually is a great sports town. It's very hidden because when you think of Midwest, you think of Chicago and big city like that. But St. Louis, they love their sports teams, and they got, for the most part, pretty good teams there. I was there late 90s.
Guys love it there. It's like I hear the same thing, Jamie, about people kind of goof on Buffalo where it is, the snow. A lot of guys that I ended up playing with that played in Buffalo love it, live there, love the golf, say it's awesome living in Buffalo. Yeah. And guys that play in St. Louis, they love it there. So in an age where we're talking about state taxes, Florida, lifestyle, Vegas, L.A., California, there's guys that literally fall in love. I love playing in Carolina. I might retire there in the winter. It's just you go to a place, you live there, you just fall in love with it.
Yep, and I talked to Jamal Mayers today. He lives in St. Louis, retired there, played in Chicago, won a cup there, played throughout the league, but retired in St. Louis. Pronger, Keith Tkachuk, like you name it. It's actually, you think about it, there's some pretty good players that have come out of St. Louis, too, in the finals. You got Matthew Tkachuk and Trent Frederick, who's a St. Louis boy.
Right. St. Louis always had a sneaky good, like they'd have a travel team, man.
They'd come to Toronto and whoop some ass once in a while.
Yeah, like I remember we played in a tournament when we were in Bantam, and there was this Missouri team from kids all over the state, and even from like probably different states as well, right?
Sure.
Like they'd be bringing kids in from Michigan probably, and Illinois, and all over the place, stacked, absolutely stacked. So yeah, it's Game 3 tonight. And based on what we saw the first two games, I guess would it surprise you if it was 2-1 and tight checking and both teams had 17 shots tonight? Feels like it would surprise me.
Well, I think they're going to knuckle down, guys, because I don't know what the stat was. There's something like I mean, Jamie, you might know this. Yeah. The first 2 games, they're like for each team got like 18 or 19 high-quality chances.
Yeah.
And the coach has got to be looking at that saying, guys, like, this is insane. Enough. Yes. How they stop these guys.
But how do you do it? That's the thing.
I don't know. And I'm glad they can't stop it because it's awesome to watch, Hayes.
Well, it is. But the chances were 45-29 after 2 games for Edmonton. So, yeah, I mean, even Florida's averaging almost 15 chances a game, and the Oilers are 25 chances a game. I mean, keep in mind context. There's double overtime involved as well. So there's a lot of hockey overtime, the other one. So those numbers are a bit skewed, but it wouldn't surprise me. One of these games, I don't want to say dud, but you might see a team or the team's either a little bit tired or very cautious, and it's a 2-1 drag fest where it's, you drag them out and it's an OT winner or it's a late goal or something like that. Like our 3-1 with an empty netter, something like that.
That seems more likely later in the series when you start to get nervous. Like Game 7 last year was not thoroughly entertaining.
No,
Cup final Game 7. It was kind of a chess match where both teams were playing tight. My fear would be Game 5 because they play tonight, Thursday, and then Saturday in Edmonton. Like that's a quick turnaround from Florida to Edmonton, and you're playing in less than 48 hours with a time change too. I mean, that could be a little bit dicey, but at the same time, you're playing. It's the Stanley Cup, man. Like it's the Cup final. What else are you? We always say this. What else are you keeping it for? What are you saving it for? I mean, you might as well go put it all on the line. So yeah, we got game 3 tonight. Best bets later in the hour. Jays in St. Louis. Graham Delet will join us here in a moment. He's down at Oakmont. And I just saw a video. This is going to be great content. Johnson Wagner, our buddy from the Golf Channel on NBC. Because NBC has the rights to this, and the U.S. Open is not like Augusta, they're going to allow him to go out there and do his thing. And he is going to be hitting shots all week from all over this place. In the rough, bunkers, crazy greens.
It's going to be a wild
He's going to look, honestly, like a 30 handicap out there.
I
wouldn't great.
Go that far. But
well, you know what I mean.
I'm going to play that for him the next time we have him on.
Dude, last year when he started doing this, he had the yips. Like, he was hozzling wedges. And
he hit some weirdos, man. Like some bonkers shots.
Yes.
I love
Skank balls on live TV, and the guys on the panel were like, what is this guy doing?
There is some golf language. Hozzling and skank.
Oh, yeah. And
worm burner. And
none of them are positive terms. There's no positive language in the golf world. It's all negative.
I love it.
But yeah, it's it's a quick turnaround because I thought Osprey Valley held up very, very well. Like the winning score was 18 under into a playoff, and it certainly will not be 18 under this week, though. You can bank on that. Coverage of the U.S. Open on OverDrive brought to you by Subaru. Here's our TSN golf analyst Graham Delet. What's happening, GD?
How are you guys? How about flushed? That's a good, nice positive.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Compressed or flushed. That's very quality stuff. Nutted. There are positive ones.
Wow, they all sound negative to me, though. It's like, I didn't,
Nutted's a good one.
Well, nutted that. I mean, let's be honest here.
It's never
heading
wrong.
down a pathway there that you got to be careful.
Everyone keep it on the rails here.
Exactly.
What did you think of the way the course held up, the Canadian Open? The Ryan Fox wins it on the 4th playoff hole. How do you think we'll look back on the 2025 RBC Canadian Open?
I thought it was great, honestly. I think the course held up really well. Considering that they had ball in hand on Thursday and literally perfect conditions, like playing in a dome that Thursday afternoon. You give the best players in the world those type of conditions with perfect lies every single time, and they're going to shoot nothing. So there's 261s on Thursday, and it looked like it was kind of going to be one of those sort of runaways. And we had good weather all week, but the course held up. And there was only 2 guys that turned into the weekend in double digits under par. So considering the 2 guys shot 9 under the first day, I think that's pretty good. And then, to be 18 under on a PGA Tour event, I would say that that's pretty solid. And if they wanted to, there's nothing you can do with Mother Nature. If it didn't rain overnight Wednesday and into Thursday morning, the course would have been much more firm come Sunday afternoon, and that winning score would have probably been like 14 or 15, you know what I mean? So I think it was good, and I think that it showed well on TV, and I think that in general, like the players were kind of pleasantly surprised. They didn't really know what they were going to get here. And, a lot of the TPCs are kind of just these modern day huge ballparks. And there's a little bit more character out there than I think a lot of guys anticipated.
GD, to go back to earlier in the week, Rory McIlroy missed the cut. He was awful on Friday.
Awful.
Do you think, I don't know what he was up to on Thursday night, but he was probably hanging out with you and your buddies. I don't know what he was doing. But do you think
he was in Orangeville, buddy? He was downtown.
Okay. Do you think that this guy can get on a bird, go to Florida, and then go to this golf course and get it together and make the cut? I mean, I can't even believe that we should be saying about Rory, is he going to win this? But can he get it together after that performance and be dialed in for Oakmont?
Well, I mean, you could tell that he just wasn't there mentally at all. I mean, you can talk about how poorly he played, but I mean, I've never seen him just so half-ass swing everything.
Yeah,
just kind
it looks like something's up with him.
It was almost like he didn't care. But, I mean, the main thing for him, if he does want to compete, is he's got to figure out his driver. I mean, that thing is an absolute weapon. He's the best driver of the golf ball in the entire world. And, it was ugly last week. And he'd switched to this new driver that was a little bit shorter, and I think he was trying to go for something that he could control maybe a little bit more, which I don't know why he needed to change anything, because he controls the big one pretty good. But I think he was trying to prepare more for this week coming up here at the U.S. Open. And, I hope that is over and he goes back to kind of what he has normally been doing. But, yeah, I've never seen anything like it from one of the best players in the world.
It was awful, man. It was like he was at a charity event, that he was that he agreed to 6 months ago, and he forgot. He's like, fine, I'll come, but I got better things to do.
Yeah. You're right, yeah, and he only saw 9 holes in the practice rounds, too. So, the preparation just wasn't there.
No, not in the least. Yet, you look at the way the Canadians showed up, and a lot of Canadians are going to be down there at Oakmont. And, there was a time when you were at the top of that list, GD, and, you were there, and Mike Weir was kind of crossing over. But there was 2 or 3 Canadians at most. You'd hope you'd make the cut and maybe be in contention. And here's another Canadian Open, like the last few, where you got 5, 6, 7 Canadians who are going into the weekend top 25, top 30. It's pretty incredible.
It really is. When I was playing, Weirzy was kind of on his way out, and it was me and Hearn, and then, Nick Taylor and Adam Hadwin were just kind of coming onto the scene. And, legitimately, we have not only just in the Canadian Open, just any regular event, if we had 2 Canadians playing on the weekend, that was pretty good back then. So We've come a long way. And all the big dogs, you think of Nick Taylor and Corey, Adam Hadwin, and who am I missing? Mac Hughes, Taylor Pendrith. Those 5 guys who you kind of expect, they're kind of the top 5 guys, the Canadians, and they all played well. Top 30s or whatever, but you got to play solid on the PGA Tour to finish top 30. You're a hot putter week away from a top 30 being a top 5, or maybe one silly mistake or whatever. So I think that all their games are in pretty good shape here right now, trending nice.
With Graham Delet. So we head to Oakmont, U.S. Open. If I gave you Scotty Scheffler or the field, who would you take?
Oh, man, I think you got to go Scheffler, don't you? It's insane to say, but who's going to beat this guy? The way that he's playing right now is an absolute joke. And the thing is, too, the harder a golf course is, the more top players separate themselves from the rest of the field. And, it's not going to get any harder than this. I haven't been out there yet. I'm here in Pittsburgh right now. I'll go out there tomorrow morning and check it out. But, you guys have seen all the social media posts, I would assume, with this rough. And it might be the hardest conditions that I've ever seen, I think, when I get out on the golf course there on Tuesday.
Graham, explain to the viewers and us, I'm curious to get this answer. I watched you play on the PGA Tour, and you were a fantastic ball striker, and you could move the rock, and you did things really well. So you at the top of your game, and if you were in the final group with Scotty, what does he do that just separates him from you? Is it consistency? Is it longer? Is it better approach shots? You were a tour player who was known as an unbelievable ball striker. So what does this cat do that's just so much better than everyone else?
Well, the biggest thing is he doesn't make mistakes. Especially, I don't know if you guys watch at Muirfield, but that golf course was playing super tough there a couple weeks ago. And, he went around just like bogey free, just kind of ho-humming. He plays a lot. He plays a lot like Tiger. Like, I mean, we always remember all these like fantastic, crazy shots that Tiger Woods hit throughout his career. But if you like sit back and look, he played kind of the most boring golf. He hit to the middle of so many greens, just made life easy on himself, and he was a great putter. And Scotty isn't a great putter, but he's got really good hands around the greens, and that kind of makes up for it. So when he does miss a green, I mean, he's got 3-4 feet kind of little tap-ins. And, I mean, if you can make those, he doesn't need to hardly even make any putts because he just doesn't get himself out of position and make bogeys. And then, you know, you look at the complete opposite, a guy like Jordan Spieth or whatever. It's like he's making 5, 6, 7, 8 birdies, but he's making 4 or 5 bogeys, and it's like he shoots 3 under, but it looks insane. And then Scotty Scheffler, he lulls you to sleep and shoots 64, and that's really the difference. He just doesn't make mistakes.
It's incredible to watch, man. It really is. And, you know, you look at the playoff yesterday where we were discussing it earlier, Graham, that was not quality golf either guy was playing, man. Like they missed very makeable putts. Burns chunked a wedge at one point. What did you make of the decision, though, to move the cup for the 4th playoff hole? Something I've never seen before. I saw you on SportsCenter afterwards. You said you've never seen it before.
I've never even heard of it.
I didn't even know it was possible on the fly, but I thought it was a pretty cool idea once they actually went ahead with it.
Yeah, you know, and I was kind of sitting there on the back of the 18th green, and, you know, I was sitting there with Dusty and Weeks, and I was like, man, what they should do is move these tees up and give these guys a chance to go at it in 2. I mean, it was basically they might as well just drop 2 balls at 100 yards and had a wedge contest for the first 3 times going through there. So it was nice when that wind kind of died down in that last playoff hole, and they were both able to go for it. And, yeah, there wasn't a lot of great shots, but that second shot that Ryan Fox hit in there, I don't even know what it was, 8 feet or whatever for Eagle, was absolutely incredible. And that's what earned him the win. And, I mean, you can talk about Sam's 3-putt, but he knew that he had to try to make it because you got to expect a guy from 8 feet to make it. So, I mean, he gave that Eagle putt a run, and, I mean, I'm sure that he wishes he only hit a 3 or 4 feet pass, but you got to give it a run at that point in time. And, you know, Ryan put the pressure on, and he won the golf tournament.
GD, heading into next week, all the goofy tweets are always starting where a guy comes out and says, if you give me this score, I would take it into the clubhouse right now, and I'd be happy with it. And Ben Griffin said it would be +4. I think that's
daily.
Nuts. What's that?
Daily or total?
Total. He said the total. He would sit in the clubhouse.
You think 4 over could win this thing?
Really?
Wow.
From what I'm hearing from other people, yeah. Like, I mean, like I said, I haven't been out there yet, but yeah, I think I don't think there's any question that over par is definitely in the mix. And I heard someone was telling me that Keegan Bradley said that he thinks that it could be double digits over par. So who knows? You know, it's always harder too when you play practice rounds because you're always at the back of every single tee box. The rough hasn't been trampled down yet. Like, it always plays harder on a Monday. And longer, and the rough's nastier on a Monday in a practice round than it is by Thursday, Friday. Everything kind of starts to get trampling down. But the USGA is also known to kind of rake up the grass back towards the tee sometimes to, you know, bring that difficulty back. So we'll see what happens.
I'm sure you've played Oakmont. Like, the stories about it, everyone's like, toughest golf course you could ever play, considering the rough, but considering the greens, how tight the fairways are, how small the greens are. Like, is it the toughest course you've ever played? You know,
I actually haven't. I never did play that Open in 17. I was hurt that year, but I mean, I hear from everyone. It's you know, in normal members conditions, it's one of the hardest courses in the world. So when the USGA gets their hands on it, it's obviously pretty crazy.
Yeah, I wonder if this is going to be like a Tiger in 2000 at Pebble moment for Scheffler, where everyone else is +3, +4, +5, and he's 7 or 8 under. You know, like
that's a possibility, yeah. And that honestly, and like, you wouldn't be surprised to see it because, like I said, the better you are, and mentally he's so good too. He's so patient. He doesn't get rattled, and that's a big thing, obviously, at the U.S. Open. And he can just kind of, you know, plot his way around this golf course and shoot maybe 2 under for 72 holes, and you never know, win by 10. Like, it's a definite possibility.
All right, GD. Great catching up with you.
I got to tell you one quick story, though, Hazy, right before we go. We're on the Golf Channel coverage, and can't remember if Steve Lowry hits this shot. I'm like, oh, that's the kind of shot that a 15 handicapper dreams that he could hit. O-Dog texts me and Steve Sands in the booth, and he's like, dude, I can hit that shot. I'm like, first of all, I don't know if you even can. And secondly, I was talking about 15 handicaps. I didn't know he had gotten that high already.
Right,
so.
exactly. Sandbagging all over Southern Ontario.
Come on, buddy. Those are private texts. You don't share that stuff on TV, man.
I love it.
I love it. All right, GD.
All right,
Enjoy
boys.
yourself down there.
Thanks.
There's Graham Delet. Yeah, man, you see some funny activity at a golf course, man.
Dude, I saw a guy during the playoff. I would love to find this guy. He had 30 cold beers yesterday, and they were just panning the crowd. And he was practicing his swing, and he was so shattered in the crowd. And it's a Netflix series, man. People in a golf crowd.
Oh, big time, man. Big time. Because that guy watched someone swing. He's like, I could probably pull that off.
Yeah. He went and played 9 holes with his buddies at 8:30 p.m., hammered, and
for
said,
sure.
I'm going to knock this on every green. And he thought he was Rory McIlroy.
Ryan Fox trying to pull the Fox. Because, Fox does the big, wide-open stance. His front foot is, forward.
I wanted to ask Graham Delet, if Ryan Fox pulled up to a grubby driving range and a pair of overalls and an orange hat and started hitting seeds, how much would you play him a hole for? I'd pay him for $500 a hole.
He looks
would wax you, dude.
He does, man. He plays fast. He's quick.
Yeah,
he's got a weird
that
stance.
homemade swing. He's got his toes are pointed outwards, and he just
weird action.
Lashes at
it. Is it sustainable though? Is this guy going to be around?
Dude, he's won twice on tour in the last month and a half.
I'm just saying, is this a guy that you guys are concerned about going this guy is going to be
top 5 in the world or something?
No, he's not going to be top 5 player
20,
in the world, but he's going to pick off a couple more. He's just a really good player. He's going to pick off some wins.
He's got confidence, man. You know what it's like when you're an athlete. When you start winning, you get confident, man.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
For sure.
Look at that Ben Griffin guy. He was just known as kind of a good player, and now he's got confidence, and he picked off a win.
Yep.
And now he just feels he can do it. That's massive.
He's got the aviator shades on, and he's just motoring around tour.
Yeah. He has to wear those, though, but he's got eye problems.
No, I understand that. But, he could wear Ray-Bans or something, but
I would like to see a golfer wear the goggles, like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yes, that's what he could wear
goggles.
too. He could
wear.
A guy tried it a couple years ago. He had he had these goggles. Doogie, try to find this picture. They went on his head, and then they didn't wear a hat, and it had 2 bars that went back on his head.
Dude.
Was that a helmet or
I
what?
know what you're talking about, but that was not a tour player.
It was a tour player that tried to make a fashion statement with goggles that it looked like a spaceship.
Yeah, he looked like an X-Men.
Yes,
he looked...
and he tried it on tour. It was the most bizarre thing you've ever seen in your life. Doogie, you've got to find this
We'll
picture.
find it in a full breakdown forthcoming. Yeah. Keegan Matheson from St. Louis, and best bet still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
found the pick. Found the pick.
Is he a tour player, though?
What?
Is the guy a tour player?
It is a tour player. And Hayes, if I ever said I've got some business people, do you want to come and join the group? And you wheeled in with the goggles that this guy look, this guy is on the DP World Tour, and he wore those shades on the golf course.
I love it. Charles Xavier. Guy's out there just rolling the rock. Like, how could you possibly
imagine being his playing competitor on the first
I would
tee.
call it infraction, a two-shot infraction, and
this
I would
guy
demand a new partner.
wheeled up to the first tee with those on and shook your hand and said, play well.
I know one guy who would wear those. You know who it is? Jason Strudwick.
No, not even Struddy would rock those Noodles.
I'm telling you. He wears a visor, and he's got no hair up top. The guy walks around in a visor.
The visor's an aggressive hat, man. I've never been able to pull
I have a
it off.
tailor-made visor I wear. I love it.
Yeah, but you've got a healthy head of hair.
Yeah. But I could see Struddy being that guy who just doesn't care about his golf attire. Like, me and Hayes are so dialed in with our golf Peter Millar stuff. We care. I could see Struddy saying, I want something that doesn't match, and those goggles, and it's short shorts. It's just terrible stuff.
He would have bad style, I think. But those are a totally different ball game, man. Like, that's a totally different story. I guess they were Oakleys, too, which that's the kind of thing. Like, whoever launched that is probably in a new career now.
William Nylander.
I could see William Nylander
nobody's wearing those glasses.
I'm telling you,
I could see William Nylander wearing those.
A Swedish guy, European guy, good looking, and I'm telling you, Willie Stiles would wear those.
I think you're right.
He could pull it
and
off,
it would be considered cutting edge and cool because it's Nylander.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If it's Struddy, it's not cutting edge, and it's definitely not cool.
No.
Best bets later in the hour. Jays in St. Louis tonight. Again, Max Scherzer is going to have a rehab start with the Bisons, I believe, on Friday. And he's going to need at least 2 rehab starts before hopefully getting the green light and he returns to the team. Like, we're into June, man.
Yeah.
We are into June, and this guy has pitched 3 innings for this team. And yet they've survived without him, you know. But there's only so far you can go now. Like, we continue to talk about Bowden Francis and his struggles, but that's leaning on the negative. There's a lot of positives here. 10-3 in their last 13. Their bats are alive. I'm telling you, like I said earlier, seeing Bichette into Guerrero, into Barger, I love it. I love the way this looks. Alejandro Kirk is a clutch hitter, man. He has arrived, or he has returned. He was there a couple of years ago.
I told you what my buddy Paul Ross that works with us out in that building
said, believe in this guy.
Professional hitter.
That's what he is. 2 strikes, 2 outs, 9th inning. This guy is going to put a ball in play. Not every time, but more often than not. That's exactly what he's been doing recently. And
well, Noodles brought up the biggest question, Hayes. Can he be a professional hitter? Like, that's what he's known for, because he seems to just – he goes in spurts where he can just disappear.
He got thrown out.
Hate to break it to you, but Kirk is not.
He's always going to get thrown out somewhere.
It was nonsense. Like, the guy bobbled it and threw it to second, and then
guy can't run.
The guy did a spinorama on second before he threw it to first.
I don't think it's actually running that's the issue.
No.
Well, whatever it is, the end result is not going to be positive.
He's not fast.
He's not a 5-tool player. Put it that way. Alejandro Kirk is not Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, no.
But, you know, he catches a really good game. Like, pitchers love throwing to him. Yeah. And he's hitting now. He's clutch. And they got him locked in. Yep. Right? They signed him to a big extension before the season started. So there's a lot of positivity right here. A lot of positivity around the Blue Jays. And a man that travels with them, a man that's around them every single day, is in St. Louis ahead of Game 1 of this series, Jays-Cardinals tonight. Would, of course, be Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. And Keegan joins us now. How you doing, Keegan?
I'm doing very well, fellas. Coming to you from sunny St. Louis, right outside the stadium here. I am on the surface of the sun, but it's a good place to be.
I love it. And I said, I've said it multiple times today. Sometimes we lean into the negative, and we'll get to that. There's a couple of negative stories, but I think it's been overwhelmingly positive the last couple of weeks. What kind of mojo are you picking up around the club when you're in the clubhouse, around the dugout, batting cages? What's life like right now on the road with the Blue Jays?
A totally different feeling, guys, being around this roster, this coaching staff. They're probably just like disappointed to see me instead of actively upset to see me every day, so that's a little better in my life. But, man, they are making good on a lot of stuff they were talking about earlier in the year, because this roster, and John Schneider included, talked a lot about a better clubhouse, a better feel, better energy. None of that matters if you're not winning. Now when we see them winning, it's a little easier to see what that looks like. It's so hard to measure it. And even for me, I'm around the team every day. I can't really feel that out myself. It's only for players too. But you're starting to see that come out a bit. And you're starting to see this kind of snowball a bit for them in a positive way. And the fact they've done all of this with no value from Santander, with Scherzer giving them 3 innings, Garcia gone, Jimenez has not given them much. It's pretty amazing they've been able to do this so far. And with Bowden Francis' rotation spot being pretty ugly so far. A lot's gone against them, but they're making it work right now.
That's where I was going to go. Bowden Francis, where do you make of his game, and how close is he to missing a spot in the rotation, at least a start or two?
Yeah, it's just not working right now. Something is not working for him. Whether opposing hitters are picking up on something that's coming or what's happening, but Bowden Francis does not have that dominant pitch. He does not have Kevin Gausman's splitter, for example, or Jose Barrios, that combo of fastball and curveball he has is pretty unique. So if you're Kevin Gausman and you have a couple of starts that really suck, whatever, you're still going to throw that splitter over and over because that's your thing that works. What is it then that Bowden Francis comes back to? I'm not sure. I don't know what that next move or that next pivot is. I do think, though, guys, that he needs to stay a starter. I think he needs to remain a starting pitcher. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be here. You can figure that out in Buffalo for a little bit. But I don't think the Blue Jays should start yanking him back and forth into the bullpen again. That's not valuable for anybody. The issue right now is that I don't really know who takes that space. Eric Lauer's there. You do have Paxton Schultz, Spencer Turnbull we just spoke to. But John Schneider said, and I like the way he worded it, he said right now he's locked in. So take that for what you mean. But right now, locked in. I guess subject to change.
I don't know what they do, Keegan, because it's got a really bad vibe. And I was talking about Tanner Roark, where it had an ugly feel to it, where it was like, calm down. We're not going there right now. But just the feel
that's an interesting comp. I do.
Yeah.
No, but the feeling where you knew he was going out there and you knew he was getting rocked, and then he got rocked, and it was like, wow, how many times? How much longer can you keep wheeling him out there to get rocked?
I honestly think the Roark conversation's a good one, like a valuable one to have, because the feeling at that point was that you didn't really know what the adjustment was he was going to make. Because Roark was also not a guy who could overpower you or dominate you with a real standout pitch. And when pitchers who rely a bit more on feel and mixing pitches start to get hit really hard, it's hard to bounce back from that. And what we're seeing right now is the league adjusting to Bowden Francis. He was absolutely fantastic last year in August and September. And you can't take that away from him. But this is what happens when the league takes a look at that and adjusts. So it's his turn to bounce back to that. And if he does get this next start in the rotation, and it sounds like he's going to. Right now, standing here on whatever day of the week this is, Monday, it sounds like he's going to get it. But if that one doesn't go well, I think that's decision time automatically at that point. And the Blue Jays would love him to bounce back. And you don't have to be great. You have to be average. Give the Blue Jays a 4.5 ERA. That's enough right now. It just can't be a 6. They don't need perfect. They just need decent right now.
Keegan, our fearless leader, Brian Hayes, every once in a while gets a hate on for somebody, and right now he kind of has one for Santander. What are we going to do with this cat? Like,
wow.
Healthy? Can he get it together? Like, what are we dealing with here?
I like it. We've got the hater alert, Anthony Santander. This has been a bad start. Nothing about this has been good. There's nothing I can stretch to pretend it's been good. He has been hurt on top of the slow start. And my question, guys, and where my mind goes now, is that if Santander is a slow starter every single year, a proven slow starter, That's okay as long as he bounces back. But now that he comes back from this injury, and it doesn't sound like he's close right now, but once he gets back in a week or 2 or 3, is that another start? Do you start slow again? He's such a rhythm and feel-based hitter, and what that means is that he benefits from every single day at-bats. He's the type of hitter who John Schneider says needs to swing his way out of things, which means you need at-bats every day, and that's the one thing he's not getting right now. The Jays need power from him. They do not need him to come back and put the ball in play. They need him to hit the ball out of play and provide immediate offense with power. It's not been pretty, and the lineup has gotten by okay without him, but it's an awkward one so far. And again, guys, that's where my mind goes. When he comes back, is that another start? That's a bit of a slow start into June, July?
Right.
Because now pitchers are as good as they've been all year.
Well, I think you can spin it as a glass half full, though, is, they've survived without him, like you said, and if he gets back to form, then you're basically adding a bat that capable of hitting 40-plus home runs. But I love Bichette into Guerrero into Addison Barger. Like, I love the way it looks. I love the way it feels. That's the lineup again tonight. You got Kirk hitting fourth. Like, I'm curious because, like, we talked about it a ton through the spring, that we anticipated Bichette into Vladdy into Santander, and that's how they started the year. Let's say Santander was available to come off the IL, could be activated, was going to play tonight. I think they'd ease him into it. They'd probably start him maybe 6th in the lineup, maybe 7th. I don't know. I mean, Springer's hit for power again. Maybe he stays where he's at. But could you picture a scenario where Santander turns into like a pure kind of conventional old-school cleanup hitter if Barger's capable of continuing to produce the way he's been producing?
Yeah, I think you need to prioritize Barger right now because he represents what this team needs and what I don't think they've chased enough over the last few years, which is upside. This team has leaned a lot on guys like Brandon Bell, Justin Turner, like veterans who are 36 on a one-year deal, hoping that they will just get one more year of value. But what you see in Barger right now is complete untapped potential. And we all see it with those physical tools. Like when he puts it together, he can do things that not a lot of people can do on this team and in the sport. When he's been doing that lately, he is worth building lineups around. And when Santander returns, he's going to have to be shaped around that at this point. Until Santander gets hot, he's going to be hitting lower in that lineup, I think. Now, in a perfect world, yeah, he gets back up to be that number 4, that number 5 with Kirk in there as a much higher contact bat. But that might be a bit of a slow path back for Santander. The update today was just that he's kind of a week out from his injection in his shoulder and nothing really new from that. So it sounds like it's still going to be a little bit, like we're not talking this week, I don't think, with Santander. And the hotter Barger gets and the more Barger mania man keeps to build momentum, he's going to be prioritized, and I think he should be.
With Keegan Matheson, MLB.com, Jays, Cardinals in St. Louis tonight. A lot of Max Scherzer news coming out of St. Louis. I guess, he's been pitching some side sessions and building his arm up again. It sounds like he'll probably get a rehab start on Friday with the Bisons, and he's going to have at least 2 rehab starts before he returns. Spin this for us, Keegan. Like, are we supposed to believe that he's going to arrive and then all is good from here on out? Do you believe he'll even make it through those 2 rehab starts? Like, what are you hearing on Scherzer, and not only how good he's telling everyone he feels, but how good he actually feels and how good he looks?
He's alive, fellas. That's number one. And that's sorry, I just had a police dog walk by me and take a little too long of a look here. I got nervous for a second, but he's moving on. Okay.
All right.
Thank goodness. But with Scherzer, the update we got today was as encouraging as it's been in a long time. And the issue for him is not building up for those early bullpens. It's when you get to 50, 60 pitches. And he said that all year. So all along, my opinion has been that he'll be back when he's back because nothing really matters until he does a full game, 60, 70 pitches. So we're finally going to see that. And if all of this goes well, I would bet on it just being 2 rehab appearances, one on Friday, one next week on Thursday or Friday, probably with AAA Buffalo. That would be huge. Now, at the same time, we've had Max Scherzer conversations for 2-3 months now because there continue to be setbacks and delays. So For his sake, you hope that this goes well and there's not another one. But if he keeps saying over and over that it needs to be past 50 pitches to see how he recovers, still kind of in wait-and-see mode. And the Jays need to see how he bounces back from these, how that thumb feels. So it's not a typical rehab. It's a rehab with a question mark, I think, still at this point. But the point I also keep coming back to, fellas, is that if he gets back, I still think he's a really good MLB pitcher. Like, he's not just giving you a 4 ERA. I think he can be dominant still in shorter bursts.
Keegan, I'd like to be optimistic about Scherzer and the comeback, but I just have a feeling it's going to get to 60 pitches, whether that's in Buffalo.
Yeah.
And there's an issue, and I think we can all agree if there is, that's the end of the line, and this guy just disappears.
That would be the awkward point, because I would not volunteer to be the person to ask Max Scherzer if he wants to pitch in shorter stints in the big leagues. I do not think he is wired that way, and that's when it would get really awkward for the Blue Jays. We saw this in spring, late in spring training. When he was building up again, it looked like he'd be okay, but then he got to that 50, 55 pitches. The next day, his thumb was barking, and he spoke to us. He was pretty dire at the time about how it felt and how he couldn't come back until it was 100%. So at a certain point, the human body, to begin, is not built to throw baseballs like Max Scherzer throws baseballs. And when you do it 100,000 times and you're 40 going on 41, there are certain realities that set in. And he is fighting against those right now. But I do agree, and that's why it's a rehab with a question mark that you have to monitor. He's not just getting some innings in and then coming back.
Yeah, we'll see what comes of it with him. But, you bring up a good point. Like, if it doesn't work and there's another trip to a specialist, like...
Nah, dude, it's like we can't... It's almost like the organization has to say, just check, please. Like,
yeah,
you can't
like, here's your 15 sheets.
Yeah,
thanks for everything we tried. It was worth a shot. Because the trade deadline, like, it's coming up pretty quick now, Keegan, right? Like, you got to get your ducks in a row here. And, like, if Francis isn't a part of the future or possibly isn't, and Scherzer doesn't become an option, you know... Like, you got 3 guys you can rely on right now. That's not going to cut it the rest of the year.
No, and the rotation is going to be their big thing at the deadline, guys. You can hope on Manoah coming back, sure. You can hope on Trey Savage, their number 2 prospect, who was bumped up to AA today, but he's 21. I don't know. Yeah. And you need, if you have 2 question marks in your rotation, you need 5 options. Like, you need options on options. And what I think would make a lot of sense for the Blue Jays at the deadline is a rotation move, kind of like Barrios when they traded for him, a guy that's not just for this year, but for next year and maybe even beyond that, a larger move. And understanding where they're at with Scherzer has to be part of that. Even if he's back, even if he gives them a few starts, you probably want some depth beyond that. But they need to know exactly where they are, not just by July 31, but within the next couple of weeks. There's a lot of question marks up in the air because I think they need to be really aggressive at this deadline.
Keegan, you mentioned the Barger mania, and unlike my 2 colleagues here, I am very patient with my expectations. I don't get out of hand.
No, what are you talking about?
Hang on a second. When I watch this guy hit bombs, I'm like, this guy's a stud. Like, he's just got that sweet lefty swing. Like, tell me this is going to turn out and tell me this is for real.
I would love to. I have been really slow on Barger, guys. I'll be honest with you. I've been slow.
Well, he's a 6th-round draft pick. It's not like this is,
Yeah. And at the same time, guys, I've seen how strong he is. I've seen how fast he is. I've seen how hard he hits the ball for years now. And in a league where players are breaking out as superstars at age 20, 21, 22, I've asked for years now, where is it? Like, for a guy that can do all these things, why isn't it happening for Addison Barger? And it's always that mental side of the game. And the mental game means different things for different folks. For some guys, it means knowing every number and being the smartest dude in the room. For Addison Barger, I just think it means calming down and being like a 9 out of 10 instead of 40 out of 10, which I think is what he was at in the minor leagues a lot of the time. He is all intensity, man. And what we're seeing now is the big test. Because I always have someone like Davis Schneider in mind. That big start, then the league adjusts to you. So what's going to happen these next couple of weeks? If this goes a couple of weeks longer, yeah, I believe in Barger long term. And if that happens, it changes the whole trajectory of this team. Honest to God, I think it does. as a power-hitting third baseman who's suddenly a great defensive third baseman. I didn't see that coming either.
Dude.
So this is an amazing start. I've been slow to believe in it, but I am absolutely starting to. And the guy has fan favorite written all over him, too, because he creates highlights unlike anybody outside of Vladdy.
Yep. He's a beast, man. He's the next George Brett. That's what he looks
yeah,
like.
Right. You're
Plays
right.
with
Similar
fire.
to and I. It's like looking in a mirror, really.
Absolutely. I love it. All right, Keegan. Great stuff, buddy. How's the book launch going? You guys, I saw you signing a bunch of autographs last week, man. You're a rock star.
Big deal.
Fellas, I was suited up, smiling, shaking hands. It's, after a week of talking about myself too much, I'm very happy to be on the road with some quiet hotel beers, I think. This will be a nice balance.
Beautiful. Well, in the home of Budweiser, right? You better be ready to drink Buds. They don't serve anything else down there.
Exactly.
Enjoy
That's
yourself.
St. Louis culture here. I'm happy.
Absolutely.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, Keegan. Keegan Matheson of MLB.com. His new book's out. He had a big party last week. It was awesome. And, man, Addison Barger, that's our guy. That is our guy. We love him.
He seems like a great grinder.
Yeah,
too,
he's
right?
just a little grind, and he hits for power. He plays with intensity. He's playing third base, like Keegan said. He's defending well, and everything's coming together.
There's two sides to it. He was mentioning like the Justin Turner type contracts and the older veterans on the one-year deals. But you have to have a guy perform like this for them to avoid those types of things.
Mm-hmm.
And there's risk all directions for this type of stuff. If you're like, we believe in this kid and he doesn't play, then you're kind of screwed.
Well, exactly.
That's why the teams always go out and sign that veteran guy, because they're not that worried about him.
And, learn from not past mistakes, but past examples. We just went through this with Bowden Francis, where he had a great 2 months, and we're like, this guy's here, and he's the real deal. So Barger's going to have to show it for a long time.
Yes.
But that's the nature of being a young player. All you can do is, play what's in front of you. And he's playing really well. And, of course, he's playing tonight, batting third like he should be. Best Bets powered by FanDuel still to come. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and up on YouTube Live. best bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Going big game hunting tonight. Sasha Barkov, anytime point tonight. I'm on Barkov getting on the board tonight.
Automatic.
I'm on Reinhart with a point tonight. Reinhart, 3+ shots on goal. Draisaitl, 4+ shots on goal. That parlay paying plus 660.
Wow, it's a big number.
I like it, man. I like it. Those two guys, they're too good. They're going to get on the board. It's a matter of time. And you know Draisaitl's going to be sniffing around the net. Today's best bets, powered by FanDuel. From puck drop to the final horn, every Stanley Cup playoff game is available on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly, 19+, physically located in Ontario. Well, someone's going to be up 2-1 tomorrow. Someone is in the driver's seat as of tonight, right? I mean, this is a big swing game. We talk about Game 5s, Game 7s, Game 1s. Game 3, man. When it's split, best 3 out of 5 now.
Maybe tomorrow we do a hut with 5 each in their own hut. Best playoff performers in the last 10 years.
I love that idea.
I like that.
A five pack. We each have keys to our own hut.
Yeah, I want a door opening sound, Joe from the Bridge and JP. I want a key unlocking.
Yep.
I want just
the
welcome,
whole 9, man. Massive
everything.
Production value.
Last 10 years, the 5 best playoff performers in the hut.
You know where you go looking for it? Remember the show Gilligan's Island? Remember he had the hut? And you need the sound of, like, you know, the straw or the whatever it is. Make it. That's what you need.
JP, this is all you.
Yeah. You got to get to
work. I know
work.
you can find this.
He'll be on it. JP will be on it. All right, the hut's coming up tomorrow. Confirm it tonight coming up tomorrow. We're coming off a Jays game, coming off Game 3 of the Cup final, inching closer to the U.S. Open. It's going to be a great week. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today, TV, radio, podcast, web, and, of course, up on YouTube and YouTube Live on the TSN YouTube channel. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.